morning, everyone. Respected Dean Academics of our AIIMS Bilaspur, Dr. Sanjay Vikrant sir, Team Pan India, Dr. Rajina Shaheen, Director Pan India, co-founder and Director Invest on Health, and Shruti Sharma, Program Manager of Pan India, all the faculty members, online audience, and dear students. It is with great pleasure and enthusiasm that I welcome you all to today's CME, that is on evidence-based nutrition in healthcare, being organized by the Department of Physiology in collaboration with Pan India at AIIMS Bilaspur. Today marks the beginning of a journey that promises to empower us as healthcare professionals with the latest insight on research and practical knowledge in the field of nutrition. Our Executive Director, Dr. Veer Singh Negi sir, Chief Patron of this event, could not join due to his urgent works, but he has sent his blessing for this event. We have Dean Academics of our institute, Chief Patron of this event with us. Now I request our respected Dean sir to please take seat on the dais. Request Dr. Poonam Verma, Additional Professor Physiology, to welcome our Dean sir with a plant sapling. Now I request our Head of the Department Physiology, Dr. Rupali Parlewal Madam, and organizing chairperson of this CME, to take seat on the dais. I request Dr. Preeti Bhanderi to please welcome our Head of the Department with plant sapling. Once again, I welcome you all to this CME. Now I call upon Dr. Poonam Verma, Additional Professor Physiology, to take on this dais as organizing secretary of this event.
Good morning all, and thank you, Dr. Bhupender. Respected Dean Sir, Dr. Sanjay Vikrant, Dr. Rupali Parlewal, organizing chairperson of this event, Dr. Rajina Shaheen, Medical Director, Pan India, Shruti Sharma, Program Manager, Pan India, all faculty members present here, and those who have joined online, and dear students. You will all agree with that. As healthcare professionals, we are interested with the welfare of our patients. And it is our duty to stay abreast of the latest advancement and research in our field. So keeping this in mind, we have organized this CME to give you a what is this evidence-based nutrition. So before proceeding further, as we all know that all endeavors related to learning knowledge begins with the name of Goddess Saraswati. So to mark this auspicious beginning, I shall request Dean Sir and Dr. Rupali Parlewal and our professors and Dr. Poojan Dogra for coming for the lighting the auspicious lamp. Nidhi madam, please come. I included in you in professor. Please come. Thank you, sir and madam. This CME is organized in collaboration with Pan India. What is this Pan India? This is Physician Association for Nutrition India. So this CME aims to ensure that nutritional advice and interventions provided to individuals is supported by credible and reliable scientific data, rather than being based solely on anecdotal information, tradition, or personal opinion. So now I would like to invite Dr. Rupali Parlewal, Professor and Head Department of Physiology and Organizing Chairperson, for her welcome address and she will brief you about the Pan India and will also give you the overview of this program. So, ma'am, please. Good morning, one and all present over here. It is with a great joy that I welcome you all to attend the CME on evidence-based nutrition in healthcare. This event is organized by Department of Physiology and Pan India. We have among us distinguished speakers with experience in this field. Faculty members of the staff, students from medical nursing, who I believe will find this topic relevant and interesting, especially in present times when lifestyle-related non-communicable diseases have taken a epidemic proportion all over the globe. Diet is one of the foremost pillar of health, but unfortunately, there are many misconceptions about food. Many cultural practices also affect nutritional status of the individual. Thus, this event has been held in collaboration with PAN and it aimed to emphasize the importance of food in healthcare setup. I hope it is an interactive session that will reveal and resolve many facts we have about diet and nutrition so that we can help ourselves as well as the community we live in. To quote here, to eat is necessary, but to eat intelligently is an art. Now I would like to give an introduction about Pan India. We are able to organize this CLA only because of the support of Pan India. So I would like to introduce Pan India here. ये display Pan India. So Pan Association of Nutrition India, Pan India, is the Indian national program of PAN International. PAN is a global NGO on a mission to eliminate diet-related deaths globally by making nutrition a core part of healthcare system and engage with health professionals in efforts towards advancing food transformation need to meditate the three largest global crises, that is chronic diseases, climate change, and pandemic. Pan India works and impacts the individual and public health, planetary health, malnutrition related issues. Following, following the global educate, empower and engage approach, Pan India creates and educate medical community that is empowered by various programs to implement nutrition in healthcare and that it engage in action to transform food environment and its system. The current work of Pan India. Pan India was established in 2022 and it focuses on building two medical and scientific community around nutrition in medicine. It do this by facilitating integration of evidence-based intervention into healthcare system through education, empowerment of health education professionals. Pan India have already created a network of 1,200 practicing doctors and 1,500 medical students. Pan India engages with the network through monthly webinars, journal clubs, discussion forums, interaction in topic scientific WhatsApp groups. From the existing network, they build multiple teams to manage each of the above mentioned responsibilities. Ambassadors and volunteers selected from the medical colleges are trained to take up the ongoing enrichment engagement activities at their region or medical colleges. This model helps to create a social ripple effect. Dr. Rajina Shahin is one of the most ardent champion of transforming healthcare with therapeutic lifestyle intervention in India. A medical graduate, postgraduate in business management, and a diplomat of International Board of Lifestyle Medicine, she has about 2 decades of experience in healthcare
in various capacities, out of which 14 years are in nutrition and lifestyle intervention. Thank you. Thank you, Pan India, for supporting us. Now I would like to give you an overview of the program. So today, after the inaugural address, you will have a team. After that, we will have 3 sessions. First will be conducted by Dr. Regina. She will talk about nutrition, importance of evidence-based nutrition in healthcare. Then I will talk about uh, uh, I will talk about whole food plant-based nutrition, and Dr. Priyanger will talk about the intermittent fasting in diabetes and obesity. We will have a small session with our students who will present the scientific papers in short. The scientific papers will be based upon the researches in evidence-based nutrition. Then after that, we will have a panel discussion, and we have a team of 5 members coming our faculty for panel discussion. Thank you. And once again, I welcome you all to the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam, for giving the welcome address and briefing about Pan India. Now it's time to have an inaugural address from our patron, Dean Academics, Dr. Sanjay Vikrant sir. So I welcome sir for your address.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to this distinguished gathering where we have come together to delve into topic of utmost importance in the realm of healthcare, that is evidence-based nutrition. As the Dean of AIIMS Bilaspur, I am truly honored to stand before you as we embark on this journey of exploring the profound impact of nutrition which holds in our healthcare practice. Current dietary patterns have evolved over millennia as humans transition from foraging to farming to fast food. Industrialization of modern society has enabled the distribution of antibiotics as well as vaccination so that premature mortality due to infections has smartly decreased in our population in the last century, but at the same time, it has fostered a sedentary lifestyle. And today, the combination of plentiful, inexpensive, and processed food and low physical activity has culminated in the epidemic of obesity and a mosaic of chronic diseases like diabetes mellitus, cardiovascular disease, and chronic kidney disease. Morbidity and mortality from the disease is associated with sustained oxidative stress and microinflammation, and that is the greatest challenge facing to the contemporary medicine. Practitioners have mostly focused on drug therapy and to a lesser degree on medicalization of food with the emphasis of limitation of deleterious elements like sodium, polysaturated fat, and phosphorus. And for the patients navigating multiple chronic conditions, polypharmacy, and thou shalt not eat dietary approach is a daunting and discouraging and difficult to integrate into daily life. Incorporating healthy and tasty food to active living and adequate refreshing sleep are important elements to promote health and to prevent obesity and to reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and ultimately cardiovascular and chronic kidney disease. Physical activity is an essential ingredient of health, and medical literature demonstrate that ancient practice of mindfulness have a remarkable relevance to health in 21st century for receptive and motivated individuals. And large epidemiological studies have shown that Mediterranean and DASH dietary approach to hypertension, reduced cardiovascular disease, and incident chronic disease. And there is an existing evidence in the literature supporting the importance of physical activity to improve cardiovascular health and chronic disease management. The continuing medical education CMEs, they serve as platform for all of us, medical professionals, researchers, educators, and students to come together and share insight and bridge the gap between the evidence-based nutrition and its effective integration into clinical practice. The speakers who have gathered here, they are expert in their own field, and they have some of them have dedicated their lives to the mysteries of nutrition and its impact on health. So they will benefit from their expertise and knowledge, and I hope they will shed light on the intricacies of evidence-based nutrition, empowering us to make informed decisions in our respective roles. And as we immerse in the wealth of knowledge to be shared over the course of this event, let us remember that our commitment to evidence-based practice is a commitment to well-being of our patients and communities we serve. So let us approach this CME with open mind, ready to learn, collaborate, and apply our newfound knowledge for betterment of healthcare outcomes. I extend my gratitude to our esteemed speakers, organizing committee, and each one of you present here. Your dedication in advancing healthcare through evidence-based nutrition is truly commendable, and it is my hope that this event will prove to be a catalyst for positive change in our practice. Once again, a warm welcome to one and all, and may this CME be fulfilling and enlightening experience for all of us. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for your wisdom words and blessings. As we embark on this educational journey together, I encourage you to actively participate, ask questions, and engage in thoughtful dialogue. Remember, the pursuit of knowledge is a collaborative endeavor, one that thrives on the exchange of the ideas and exploration of new horizons. So now it's that this was the last thing that we had in inauguration. So now it's time to honor our patron, Dr. Sanjay Vikram, sir. So I request Dr. Rupali Parlevar to honor sir by presenting memento. I request Dr. Hitesh Jani, Assistant Professor Physiology, to honor our organizing chairperson, Dr. Rupali Parlevar. Thank you, Dr. Hitesh. So, dear all, let's embark on this educational journey with open minds and eager hearts. Let's embrace the power of evidence-based nutrition to transform our approach to patient care and contribute to healthier society. So before concluding this inauguration ceremony, I extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed Executive Director, Sir, Dr. V. Singh Negi, Sir, who is always an inspiring figure for all of us and providing his unconditional support in organizing these academic activities. I also express my sincere gratitude to our Dean Sir, who is a very simple heart and dedicated to his work towards his patients, and who, in spite of his busy schedule, spared some time to make this event successful. I'm very much thankful to Pan India for contributing and leading this academic fest. Without their collaboration, this event wouldn't be possible. So we are very much thankful to Dr. Regina Shaheen, Medical Director, Pan India, and Shruti Sharma, Program Manager, for their constant guidance and support. I'm very much thankful to Dr. Rupali, who is always a motivating figure for us. She is the spirit of work for all of us. So thank you, ma'am, for your guidance and support all the time. I also extend my thanks to our speaker and panelists for being part of this event in spite of their busy schedule. I also thanks all the faculty members present here and joined online for being the part of this event. And thank you all, dear students, organizing committee, for making this event successful. So finally, let's make the most of this opportunity to learn and grow together. With this, I conclude this program and invite all of you for a cup of tea. Thank you. Hello, everyone has come back. Okay. So now we are starting our academic event now. So in this, the first presentation is by our key person this program, Dr. Regina Shaheen. Dr. Regina Shaheen is a medical graduate from TD Medical College from Kerala. After that, she did his postgraduate diploma in business management and then diploma in IBL. She is medical director of Pan India and co-founder and director Invest on Health Limited. Dr. Regina is one of the most ardent champions of transforming healthcare with therapeutic lifestyle intervention in India. She has more than 2 decades of experience in healthcare in various capacities, of which the last 14 years are in nutrition and lifestyle intervention. She founded 2 companies, one in healthcare and one in education. In 2020, she joined as medical director for Pan India with a mission to educate and empower medical professionals about the power of evidence-based medicine. As a pioneer in lifestyle medicine, she has championed the cause at various forums, including ISLM, Indian Society of Lifestyle Medicine, Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine, and also at various corporate organizations and even at community level. Sorry, ma'am, for technical glitches.
No issues, actually. That much is enough, doc, actually. It's more to do with what we.
She also had the position of Director of Alliance Advocacy and Membership at ISLA. Currently, with her role in PAN, she has started as establishing institutional tie-ups to take the mission forward. Some of these are AIIMS Nagpur, BMCRI, etc. So she is also conducting these kinds of workshops or CMAs and different aims. Under the PAN project, more than 500 medical practitioners signed up, and she is instrumental in training the doctors on nutrition. As her many anecdotes, her patients describe her as the most approachable doctor who opened up a new possibility of treatment in front of them, and her well thought out strategies work wonders. Her peers consider her a catalyst and an ardent advocate of movement to transform global healthcare system with nutrition lifestyle intervention, the core matrix. So if you want to connect with her, here are the details. You can take the screenshot and you can direct contact her. So now I invite Dr. Regina Shaheen for to start her presentation on power of evidence-based nutrition. Welcome, Numa.
I think, yeah, I can see people are coming back. I hope that everybody is back by the time I really start the presentation. So happy that we could do this event. Initially, the idea was to come to your college, experience the college and do it. But I didn't want to wait. I mean, let's do it. And then subsequent events, we can have a in-person event where we are present at your college. And Dr. Rupali has already introduced the Physicians Association for Nutrition, PAN, which short form we call PAN. PAN India is the international branch of PAN International. It's a global NGO which started in 2018. The idea is to actually, the mission is to work on diet-related diseases and bring down the diet-related diseases globally by incorporating nutrition into the core of the healthcare system. This is why it's very important for all of us. We always think that nutrition is actually something which has to be dealt outside of the core of the healthcare system. We always encourage a patient to go to a nutritionist, but we don't put that effort to train or guide him. That's where the change has to happen, because we need to understand that okay, 80% of the diseases are having nutrition related issues. So that is to be corrected, and to correct that, the core of the healthcare system has to take up nutrition. So what PAN does, one is this, these kind of educational CMAs, short CMAs, which basically addresses evidence or talk about evidence-based nutrition. I hear an echo. Yes.
Ma'am, they have to mute from their side so that the voice will not be equal.
So one thing we do is training medical students, educating like this, a small seminar, like this, maybe 30, 45 minutes. I won't be able to talk a lot about science of nutrition, but I will give an idea why this is important. Second part is, we also give advisory to the policymakers and industry bodies. We also engage in research, furthering the knowledge in the field of nutrition in the Indian context. Then partnerships and collaborations is something which we work, and we also facilitate public awareness by collaborating with others. Next, Shruti. Yeah, actually, as Dr. Poonam said, you all can associate with us as volunteers. Senior doctors can work with us as ambassadors, bringing these kind of awareness programs to the public and to the healthcare professionals. So you can guys work with us as ambassadors like Dr. Rupali, Poonam, Bhupendra and all. You can also work with us volunteers, where we have the monthly activities which is going on our platforms. You can involve with that, or you can also take up activities in your med school. It is not only going to be helpful in your practice, it is also going to be helpful for your own health and your family's health. So I'm just going to touch upon why this is important. So first and foremost, what is evidence-based nutrition? I think Dr. Dean has already touched upon this topic. Evidence-based nutrition, just like evidence-based medicine, it is something which is based on pure science and evidence. It's based on best available nutrition evidence and together with your clinical experience. And also you need to see the patient you need to see the patient preferences. That helps to prevent or sometimes manage and sometimes reverse certain conditions. You must have come across a lot of things about diabetes reversal, cholesterol reversal, and stuff like that, actually. And it's very good to see all AIIMS coming forward to host us in this endeavor, because what I see is AIIMS being the top institute in India, they have access to, you guys have access to most of the recent things happening. But we have already hosted 2 AIIMS. This is the 3rd AIIM. The 4th AIIM is already in the, we have already fixed it. So this means that AIIMS, the faculty or the education system is getting some idea about what's going on in the field. So you need to see why this is important. This is important because current world is actually moving towards a nutrition revolution. Nutrition revolution is needed not only for managing our diseases, but also provide food security to the world, right? Nutrition equity, food equity and stuff. So you can see the kind of investments coming into the picture. When you guys pass out of MBBS, you can see that the kind of investment coming out is like last year, 42.6 billion has gone into financial investments in research for nutrition studies. Have any of us got this? Have any of us involved within this kind of a research? I think there are some institutions like Jodhpur got into One Health and related stuff. Rest of the other med schools whom we did our programs haven't got any of these things. That means it's going to someone else. So nutrition currently is actually taken up by influencers, celebrity endorsements, and also people who doesn't know much about it. And the money is, or the research is going somewhere else. So the next slide. So what I want to tell you is actually we need to lead this movement, not like celebrities and other people. We are the core of the healthcare system. We know about human body, the physiology, the anatomy, the pathology, and what's happening when food goes inside. So this kind of a thing, this movement should be led by each one of us. So as this is especially valid for medical students, this particular slide, when Shruti, please put the slide. And when we actually talk about the health challenges which you are going to face, or we are already facing, is very different from what we faced 20 years ago. So it's basically, previous slide. Okay, so it just the first and foremost is NCDs, non-communicable diseases, and multi-morbidity of NCDs, which we are all clear. Dr. Rupali ma'am already mentioned about NCD. Dean has mentioned about NCD. When we are learning, we are talking about like diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol, everything. But what we do is we actually try to reduce the risk factors by giving medications. That's not the only way out. Now we have enough and more science and data with us to manage these conditions with lifestyle and nutrition intervention. So NCDs constitute 72% of the premature death globally. In India, it is 66%. So it's a large number, but we are not addressing that. We are addressing that with the drugs, whereas there is better management right now out there. And then the new thing, younger crowd is already aware that climate related issues like, the issues related to, flooding, flooding leads to like infectious diseases, and, drought leads to food insecurity. Food insecurity lead to malnutrition or the undernutrition part of it. So when you see the global health challenges, all the issues are interconnected. Actually, there is the common thread which is interconnecting all these. Actually, 90% of the cases can be managed with the nutrition intervention. But the nutrition intervention, what problem we as a doctor faces is actually we don't have resources and tools to do the same. So that the PAN like kind of an organization comes into the picture, create awareness among the doctors that, hey, you need to shift, you need to start learning this and use the tools to actually do the nutrition intervention. So let's see how these are all connected. Actually, it is actually, when you look at it, it's all boils down to one of the major factors is your eating pattern. So let's see how it's interconnected. Actually, I'm just going a bit detail about NCD, non-communicable diseases. Everybody knows NCDs, right? The med students, non-communicable diseases like hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol, heart disease, stroke, etc. Next slide, Shruti. This I've already discussed. We have around 66%, but ICMR India B study says that last 4 years there was a 44% increase in diabetes cases, and obesity is also going high. So this number is 2016. So we are at much higher number. You already know that major cause for serious disease of COVID and death is due to multimorbidity of NCD. So NCD is something which we cannot ignore. And NCD management is not just with medication. The primary line of management should be nutrition intervention. Get to the next slide. Yeah, actually, we already know that if we are able to manage or work on the cause of these diseases, 80% of heart disease, diabetes, hypertension can be prevented. 40% of cancer can be prevented. We know these things. I'm just brushing through. Tobacco use, unhealthy diet, physical activity, alcohol. These are the major reasons. People know that tobacco is bad. That's very well established. Sedentary lifestyle is bad. There are gyms sprouting everywhere. Somebody else took up that. But unhealthy diet, when it comes to that, people who should be giving the right knowledge, we are not skilled. We are inadequately prepared to do the same. So who has taken up that? Then in celebrity endorsement, the influencer and the related people, we do not have the skill set to manage that. That's the whole confusion actually. That's creating whole confusion. Next slide. Yeah, actually, then when you look at all the causes, this is one of the picture from Lancet. When you look at the major causes, global attributes of premature diseases, you can see that there is hypertension, there is blood sugar level, cholesterol, high BMI. When you look at all these things, you see a common connection. Anybody can say what it is? It's your diet. It's your diet, which is leading to high BMI and causing other risk factors and making you prone for metabolic diseases. Okay, that is what we need to work on. Next slide. So this is a 2019 Lancet. The word is taken from Lancet. Some suboptimal diet is responsible for more death globally than any other health risk. Right now we are all aware, but we are not doing anything. And you can see the kind of issues with the diet actually. But the next slide, I have put it much more legibly or can be more visualized, better visualized. So dietary risk factors, if you look at it, the causes are like overconsumption of certain food factors like salt, trans fat rich food, sugar, sweetened beverages, which is adding a lot of added sugar, red meat, processed meat on one side, overconsumption of these things. I'm sure that each of the kid who is sitting there, med students sitting there would be consuming some of the French fries or fried snacks at least once or twice a week, right? And how many of you would be consuming this sugar sweetened beverages like Coca-Cola and stuff? And then you are going to, like, when you come out of it, you're going to tell your patient not to drink these things. Actually, it's like a doctor's cardiologist sitting in his clinic and smoking. Similar, there's no difference. And the suboptimal diet is the major reason for premature death compared to other things. But we're not addressing that. We are not even thinking about learning these things actually. Then underconsumption of certain nutrients, which is also very clear that high fiber rich, phytonutrient rich vegetables and fruits are very low, legumes are very low, and whole grains are low. Instead of whole grains, what are we consuming? The refined white rice or white atta or maida and stuff. That's what we are eating. If you look at Eat Lancet reference diet, it is very clearly mentioned what is a major problem with India. When you look at the Western world, the issue is a little different. There, a large percentage of people consume 50 or more percentage of things from animal products like red meat and processed meat and stuff, which is leading to all these causes. India, our problem is little different. We are not too high on our animal products, But we are high on our dairy, which is very high in saturated fat, the whole fat dairy. That is one part of the story. Second part of the story is we are deficient in proteins. Younger population already would be aware. Like whenever I go to a med school, the first question I get is, how do I get my proteins if I eat more plants? That's the first thing. So that is something which comes into the picture. 6 to 8% of the calorie only comes from protein food. Third one is we eat a lot of refined stuff, processed stuff. If you go to the shop, your packaged stuff, the cereals you get, the packaged snack you get, everything is high in salt, sugar, and refined carbohydrate, which is making us prone for diabetes mellitus and metabolic diseases. That is the reason why we are like reporting a 44% increase in diabetes. And then definitely our consumption of vegetables and fruits and legumes are very low. If you look at even South Indian diet, you can see that 80% of the plate is occupied by grains, refined white grains. Here it is rice, and your north, when it comes to north, it is mostly wheat and related stuff, wheat, barley, and stuff actually. But still, 80% is refined rice, and we are not consuming enough vegetables. We are not consuming enough legumes. We need to get out of this pattern. The first thing I say is start changing your eating pattern. When you go to have lunch today at the after the meeting, ensure that your plate is properly plated. That means you have your half of the plate filled with vegetables and fruits or vegetables, and the other half divided into two: upper quadrant a protein portion, lower quadrant a grain portion. Protein portion, if there is dal and rajma and all, you can have that. Grain portion, roti or rice. That should be the way you should be eating. Okay, next one. This is something very important to you. Next. So when you're thinking about diseases, especially chronic diseases, we as doctors are working on the risk factor, where we're not working on the causes. There can be proximal causes, medial causes, or distal causes. Proximal causes is like our lifestyle habits like diabetes, eating pattern, exercise pattern, tobacco use. All these things can be managed by us, or we can at least give guidance to the patients if we know how to do that actually. But we do not have that skill set to do it right now, or resources to do it right now. But how are we managing that right now? When there is a patient comes to you with hyperlipidemia, hypertension, or cholesterol, we give them medications or pharmaceutical agent. What does the pharmaceutical agent do? It mitigates the risk, reduces the risk, so that an impending event can be managed, or impending event can be avoided. But we are all intelligent creatures. You guys are AIIMS. To get into AIIMS, you guys have to be within 1,000 or 600 rank. And you guys are so intelligent creatures, and you are doing that mitigation, last part of it. Put the next slide. Shruti, put the next slide, please. Yeah. So this is what we're doing. There is a leaked tap, an open tap, which is actually flooding the floor. And what that intelligent creatures, one of the creams actually in India, when it comes to academics and intelligence part of it, we are actually like taking the mop and mopping the floor. We are not even attempting to close the leak tap. The leak tap can be closed when you address the root cause of the illness, which is lifestyle intervention or predominantly nutrition intervention. For that, again, I say we need nutrition knowledge. I'm not going to give you nutrition knowledge right now. We will have these sessions, ongoing sessions, or ongoing activities in collaboration with your department in coming days, actually. So conventional medicine, you understood, as intelligent creatures, we are just mopping the floor. We just learn about some drugs which will help to reduce the reduce or mitigate the risk, and we give it. That's not what we are meant for. We are meant for much bigger than this. Next. So this means for any lifestyle diseases, nutrition or lifestyle intervention should be the primary line of management. If it fails, you can go for medical therapy or surgical procedures. That should be optimized. That shouldn't be the primary line of management. And, certain cases like people are not able to follow a lifestyle intervention, which you suggest them because of various reasons, where daily dynamics of life, or sometimes people have a very high proneness for familial component is very strong. In such cases, it may not work. But as clinician, you will be able to assess that better than any other professional, any other trained or certified professional. That's what we want. Next. Shruti, next. Yes. These are some of the studies, but we can have another session for these evidence part of it. Some of the study, this study, which was published in Research Case, it says that intervention of the cause factor, not risk factor, but more effective in reducing mortality than all drugs and invasive procedures combined. Still, why most cardiologists are not using it? Because they are going with the flow. What is available, they are using it. There are cardiologists, smart cardiologists in our network who are advisors and ambassadors in our team who are doing this wonderfully, very effectively, actually. So we need to get into that. So next one is actually a portfolio trial. I think some of the trials and details, I can share it with you later, because we always know diet as something preventing diseases or managing undernutrition part of malnutrition. We never think that a diet can actually reverse a disease. Look at portfolio trial, previous slide. So actually that was an RCT. Always people complain that that nutrition studies doesn't have RCT. This is one of the best RCTs I have come across with respect to the result. Look at, there were 3 arms, a control diet, a portfolio diet, which contained plant-based food, which predominantly plant-based one with soy proteins and fiber and without statin. And the last one was statin. Look at the result that the green triangle and the blue square has similar result in 4 weeks. So that one is green one is portfolio diet and blue one is the control diet with statin. So actually this is exactly what we see in our practice in more than this medical director of PAN. I have worked many years managing patients. What I see is actually if a patient is able to follow 80% of your recommendations, a patient with 180 plus LDL cholesterol can bring down his LDL value by 30 points in 4 weeks. Actually, this is exactly what we see in our practice. This is what exactly research and papers and literature is reporting. Next. Shruti, next. Yeah, this CHIP program, I don't want to discuss a lot about it because CHIP program is one of the US most most actually popular cardiac rehabilitation program, and it is actually integrated into the Mediclaim policies. So many hospitals has CHIP programs, Ornish programs and all. What we need to understand is West is already adapting that. Actually, they already have doctors sitting there and leading these teams who are doing it. And why are we so late? And the country where we always believed in personal optimization from our from our olden times, actually, but we are not embracing the science of it. We are letting the influencers and those kind of players to lead it. We are not leading it, actually. Once we start leading it, we will be the world player in this, actually. So just a case study, because I talked a lot about this clinical part of it. Actually, this is a case study, which is one of the beautiful ones I got over the years. This is like this person reversed her diabetes in 3.5 months. And she came to us with 13.7 HbA1c with 245 fasting blood sugar and total cholesterol 214 and LDL 144. And she started adapting just like any educated client who is also into blogging. Again, another influencer. She feels that milk is very important. She needs to drink 6 packets of milk. And she believed that juice, which is available in package, is good. And she started drinking 2 and 3 servings of it, and which put her into a higher overconsumption of saturated fat and also overconsumption of refined sugar and stuff. So that was the reason for her this thing. And her husband's TG triglyceride was 1,000 plus. Initially, he needed a bit of drug, but later he completely gone off drug. With this woman, we took her off medication because we decided that this woman we can work very well, because she was like all the time about doubts. Once she cleared her doubts, she was ready to go. And within 3.5 months, look at her reading. She followed a predominantly plant-based diet. Initial days, it was very difficult for her to cut down on the dairy products. She was a vegetarian. She was high on paneer, but she was not ready because she thought paneer was giving her paneer was giving her proteins. Next slide, Shruti. And next. And, as conventional medicine doctor, what he has put him on her on medications, but we had actually helped her get out of the medications actually. Get next one. Yeah, we put together a team, we worked with the client and brought the result. Next actually. Look at the miraculous thing which happened with her. Next. So this was the thing, but just like anybody else, what we discussed, she was high on saturated fat, trans fat, sodium, salt, sugar, TMAO. Then she was low on fiber, PUFA, phytonutrients because she was very low on whole foods. She was not having any whole grains, not much vegetables, fruits, legumes. She felt that when she's increasing that, she is having bloating, gaseous distension and all. So she was highly on refined stuff. Same way, she was also high on sugar, juice and stuff, and high on dairy products. She was on 5 or 6 servings of dairy. Next. Shruti next actually. So then she changed some of her plates to understand. She incorporated a lot of chia seed, flax seed powder, a lot of legumes, which is very common in our country, like green gram, horse gram, different dals, makhana, lotus seeds. She included a lot of leaves actually. You can see that amaranth leaf, palak, multiple of these things, and reduce the consumption of grain portion, which is very high in our context actually. Instead of 4 roti, she brought it down to 1 roti actually. That is the major change she did it, and she brought down her dairy intake also drastically. Look at the result now. Next slide. 3.5 months, no medication. She was only for medication for first 2 weeks. In spite of us telling her just continue for 4 weeks, she didn't do it because she started believing in what we were saying. Just look at the result, and she's continuing. That was in August 2022, and she's continuing on the same result even now. And I do have a lot of clients who reversed like this or brought diabetes to a long-term remission. But this was something which happened in 3.5 months, which was like really an eye opener actually for us. Me and my husband also, we have our own reversal story. That's why we got into it in 10 years back. Next. Now, the next point, climate crisis, we already discussed. What we need to understand here is actually, so 72% NCD's major problem, climate related issues is coming up. Major driver of climate change also, when you look at it, it's our eating pattern. You blame transport, you blame industries, that and all playing their role. They're changing the way they do stuff to make the climate better. Are we doing our bit? Our bit is to change the way we eat. 15 to 18% of global, or just 20% plus global greenhouse gas emissions is caused by animal agriculture for dairy or for meat. But are we doing anything to change it? Not yet. And actually, the rest of the thing is packaging food because they need more time to to be on the shelf. So that is causing another 21% actually. So also a large percentage of it. So 25 to 33% of GHG currently is produced by food industry. Out of that, 18 to 20% is produced by animal agriculture. The rest is packaging and stuff. But we're not doing anything about it. So when we take out the packaged food from our thing, go for whole food, locally available, seasonally grown ones. So you're also promoting your local farmers. And take out a lot of animal products, which is there in your plate, and slowly shift to a predominantly plant-based pattern. You will be also indirectly helping the planet to heal. Next. And that's okay. Go next. I don't want to talk. Okay, the zoonosis and pandemic, this part also we are very clear. Deforestation, 90% of the deforestation happens. In tropical places, it is 99%. It happens for agriculture. Out of that, more than 40% is for animal rearing. In India, it's not majorly for meat, it's majorly for dairy products actually. So what happens is, but this much space is used and our oxygen is getting depleted, but we are getting only 18% of the calories from these animal sources and 37% of proteins. Are we doing anything about it? We are not even thinking why we need to change. We need to start changing the way we eat. So this leads to deforestation, leads to infectious diseases, so zoonosis basically, because in close contact, close proximity with animals, and 70% of the emerging infectious diseases are zoonotic leading to pandemic. So it's also connected. Your eating habit is directly connected with your eating, so with infectious disease, zoonosis, and pandemic. Next. Antimicrobial resistance. You guys, anybody has gone to a farm, animal rearing place? I have gone to multiple places. The animals are actually loaded with antibiotics and oxytocin and stuff. And I think that the numbers I forgot, around 70% of the antibiotics produced today is used by these animals, actually, not for us. It's for the animal, actually. So that is one of the reasons why antibiotic resistance happens, actually. So this actually, when you look at it, actually, the global challenges, all of the things which you're facing as a healthcare professional on a larger scale, it is all connected. We need to work on the common thread. The common thread is food. We need to start changing ourselves first, learn about what it is, and start communicating that to our families, societies, communities, and our patients, actually. So this is from Eat Lancet Commission. Food systems have the potential to nurture human health and support environmental sustainability. However, the current trajectories are threatening both. This is very clear. That's why organizations like this is coming forward. And you can also see that One Health is also getting popular in AIIMS kind of med schools. One Health is similar. It's actually trying out to come up with some kind of a unified approach to tackle this scenario. Next. Yeah, so as I mentioned, we need a unified, collaborative, just like we are doing right now, like collaborated with AIIMS to educate. This is not an education, this is just an awareness that we need to start shifting the way we treat our patients or we see or perceive healthcare. We need a unified, collaborative, multi-sectoral, transdisciplinary approach which recognizes the interconnection between people, animal, plants, and their shared environment. That's what we need. And among this, food is a major or the strongest lever. And each one of us have the capacity to change our habits because we are doctors. Are the communities which we come across or our network will obey or just try, we can influence them much better. So that's why, and a doctor, a good practicing doctor can actually influence between 10,000 to 1 lakh people, actually. So now, actually, you need to start reading about it. You don't have to change immediately or do anything. As Dr. Dean said, you go and read about the importance of DASH diet. You go and read about the importance of med diet, all the plant-based diet, and what's happening in the field. And this is something which I love it. It is claimed to be said by Dr. Thomas Alva Edison. The doctor of the future will no longer give medication. We are much capable than that, actually. Just giving a drug for a condition. We can influence the people and the societies at a much larger scale. Let's take up that lead role now. What will interest his patients in the care of human frame, diet, in the cause and prevention of diseases. That's what we want. That's what you all should aim to be in another few years. Thank you all. Actually, any doubts I can clear? I'm so happy that we could do this event at AIIMS Bilaspur without even coming there. And thank you, Dr. Rupali, Dr. Poonam, Dr. Bhupendra, and the whole of the department, Dean, and the students, WebEx team, and also the people who have attended online for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you all. I think.
Thank you, Dr. Regina, for enlightening us about this nutrition. So now we are clear that how much means how this nutrition is very important in treating especially the non-communicable diseases and keeping us fit. So we have to take care of our nutrition. What nutrition we have to take at what time we have to take. So thank you, Dr. Regina, for enlightening us about this. Now any questions?
Yeah.
Students, faculty, if you have any question. I request online faculty, if you have any question, then please unmute yourself and ask. Or you can write it in chat box. We will take later. If you have any question, you can write it up. check box.
Yeah, anybody from the student community?
Yeah. Students, any doubt? So which diet you will follow now?
I was expecting a lot of questions from AIIMS children. You are the cream. You should be asking questions.
Yeah. Any doubt from where you get or anything? No, ma'am. They are in shock. Yeah. Okay. Thank you once again, ma'am.
Yeah.
So now we'll move ahead. Our next talk is by Dr. Rupali Parlevar, head of the department, professor and head of the department, physiology. Ma'am is a very keen researcher, and because of this, he has become the member of this ISLM, Indian Society for Lifestyle Medicine, and he has risen to start lifestyle medicine clinic here also. So because of this reason, she has agreed to decide this CME. And so now today she will speak upon the whole food plant-based nutrition. So I invite Dr. Rupali Palivar to start her presentation.
So, as we have seen, Regina has very nicely given a presentation and she has focused on non-communicable diseases. So, as you all know that non-communicable diseases are becoming very rampant in our society. So, actually think of, does this whole food plant-based diet will help us in resolving these issues? So if you think of on very many evidences and research papers have told us that if you go for a whole food plant-based diet, will actually help us in reducing conditions like reducing or preventing conditions like diabetes and other anxieties. Okay. So now coming to what actually whole food plant-based diet is. So we have two concepts, that is vegan as well as a whole food plant-based diet. So coming to this, in this lecture, I will cover all these topics. So coming to the definition, what does whole food plant-based diet means? Actually, a whole food plant-based diet is basically is basically it is minimizing the whole food plant-based diet basically consists of minimizing the processed food. Actually, what does it mean that we have to take whole grains, okay? Not a very minimally processed food. It very minimally processed food. We should include or prioritize the fruits, vegetable, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, herbs, and spices, and exclude all the animal products, including red meat, poultry, fish, egg, and dietary products. So basically, we are not saying no. We are minimizing the consumption of animal products. Beyond that, we are prioritizing the fruit consumption, vegetable consumption, and whole grain consumption. It's not that we are using the food which is very minimally processed or not at all processed. So what we get from the plants that we are consuming. So because of that, the nutritive value of the food will be remain as such, or the nutritive value will not decrease. So coming to the, as Regina has said, our food should include major portion or half of our plate should be of fruits and green vegetables. So here I have shown a pyramid in which mainly the fruits and vegetables should be a major portion of your diet. So actually fruits like pineapple, grapes, berries, tomatoes, whatever fruits should be included in your diet, and you can take n number of the vegetables, whatever vegetables available, maybe cooked or maybe minimally cooked or raw you can take. So major portion of your plate, half of your plate should be of fruits and vegetables. Then when we think of a grains, it should not be processed things like as you get in McD's and Domino's, we should not take a processed food. We should try for the whole grains, like whole wheat bread should be there, oats, then brown rice, pastas, whole wheat, then granula and all quinola, all these grains should be included in your diet. Again, when you think of uh, 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 1/4 of your plate will be, half of your plate will be of this green vegetables, 1/4 or less than that also you can take the grains, and then you should also include leafy vegetables and legumes, and some amount of fat should be there in your diet. Now, when we think of a fat, it should be a direct oils as well as via the nuts and other fruits like avocado. Then coming to the evidence base of whole food plant-based diet. So it's been discussed that blue zone. Now, what is this blue zone? Actually, various authors all over the world have researched that there are certain population in the world where the longevity of life is very high. Like certain pockets of population where the longevity of life is very high. So they research on their diet, what diet they take. Like some islands in Japan, some islands in Greece, they have a people, they have a very long life. That area, that islands or that pocket of population is called as a blue zone. And when the researchers have discussed or have studied their dietary pattern, it has been found that it about 95 to 100% match with the whole food plant-based diet. Especially they have the diet which is rich in beans and whole grains and roots and vegetables. Then various multiple RCTs. This also showed that this whole plant-based diet have been repeatedly shown to reverse the heart disease, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, obesity has been reversed by this diet. Then there are many other studies done by various organizations, which also has shown that has strongly suggested that the diet and lifestyle part is outweighing the genetics as a risk factor. Then, as we studied the biochemistry, as we have even more knowledge of biochemistry, we should say that the plant-based diet have very low saturated fats, trans fats, cholesterol, and they are high in antioxidants and polynutrients and fibers. Now, what are the health benefits of plant-based diet or whole plant-based diets? So it has been found that there are evidences that avoiding dairy may be beneficial for few underlying diseases like autoimmune diseases, autoimmune conditions, some thyroid issues, acne-free skin can also be found if the dairy products has been avoided. In long run, the dairy products may protect yourself from breast cancer and prostate cancer also. Also, the diet comes packed in a lot of fibers. When you think of a whole food plant-based diet, it will be having more of a fibers, and that will reduce the fat inside your body, and that will reduce the cholesterol levels. So these are, if we conclude with the benefits of plant-based diet, it helps to control the blood pressure, reduce your risk to cardiovascular diseases. Then it helps to maintain your healthy weight, helps to manage diabetes. It also provides adequate dietary fibers to reduce cholesterol and maintain healthy digestive tract. And it supplies wide variety of immune boosting or anti-inflammatory phytochemicals and antioxidants to reduce the risk of cancer and reduce inflammation. Now, there are some few more benefits of plant-based diet is like the plant-based diet can reduce, it can prevent the diseases, it can potentially reverse the NCDs. But at the same time, you will see that we can advocate for the animal welfare, like the exploitation of animal will be reduced, then the farming factories for this the emissions from this husbandries can be reduced. If you see at this diagram, you will come to know what is the difference between the vegan and the whole food plant-based diet. See, when we say vegan, we also mean that we will exclude animal products, we will exclude the dairy products, and we will exclude pills. Again, if we say plant-based, same things, that is, animal products will be excluded or avoided or minimized. Also, the dairy products and eggs has been reduced. But what is the difference? From this picture, you will find out that whole food plant-based diet is a diet which is very, very minimally processed or non-processed diet. So we are taking whole grains or fresh vegetables, fresh whole vegetables, which is coming from the plants. But if you see at this diagram, you will see this is a vegan diet. And here there is mac cheese, vegan cheese, and vegan French fries. These are all processed. So the nutritive value in this, when they got processed, though this is a vegetarian diet, vegan diet, no dairy is there. But when it get processed, when it is, when the additives like additives, salt and sugars are added here, the nutritive value of the food decreases. But when we think of a whole plant-based diet, the nutritive value is enriched. The nutritive value does not decrease. Therefore, we promote for the whole food plant-based diet. So again, there are few things about the whole food plant-based diet that we need to consider. Like for example, the most natural unprocessed plant proteins are superb and compared to the animal proteins, but both of them have their different amino acid profile. But the thing is, when you take a whole food plant-based diet, your requirement for your body cover that protein level will be somewhere as compared to the animal diet. Okay, that is one thing we should keep in mind, that when we are taking a plant-based diet, the protein requirement, the proportion or the higher amount of diet will be required to meet the body's requirement for the proteins. Then there are various things, the supplements has to be required, like B12 supplements is also required a few times in a week if we take only a plant-based diet and we avoid the dairy and animal foods. Now, if we compare both, what is the animal meat-based diet and plant-based diet, you will see that the risk of inadequacy in the animal diet is that the fibers are very less. Then polyunsaturated fatty acids, alanine, vitamin D, vitamin E, folate, calcium, magnesium, these are inadequate in the animal meat-based diet. But it will be higher in saturated fat, cholesterol, even the proteins will be higher, protein intake will be higher with animal products. Then vitamin B12, zinc will be higher in the animal products. It will also give high calories. But if you think of a plant-based diet, there will be the inadequacy of vitamin B12, vitamin D, calcium, iron, iodine, zinc, all this, but they are higher in fibers. There is polyunsaturated fatty acids are higher. Other alanine, folate, vitamin B12, B6, magnesium, all these are higher, and even they are low in calories. So as already Regina has said that you need to eat animal protein to meet a protein requirement. It is a myth. With, with the plant-based diet also we can complete our protein requirement. That is, we can use all these, that is red and lentils, black beans, almonds, peas, all these can fulfill your protein requirement. Now coming to B12 supplement. Like if we take a plant-based diet, we require a B12 supplement is necessary. So it is recommended that daily allowance of B12 in adult is 2.4 microgram per day, which assumes 50% absorption rate from the food. So woman who is pregnant and those should take 250 microgram per day of a supplement. Even vegan person will require the same supplement. Vegetarians will require to take this supplement once or twice a week. Then plant source of calcium. Actually, when we think of a plant source of calcium, there are many plants which can meet with your calcium requirement. Though there is some phytates and oxalates which decreases the bioavailability of food, but the green vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, cooked okra, and various seeds, the sesame seeds, then chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, all these can increase the calcium requirement. So, like if we include this seed part in our diet with the plant-based diet, the calcium requirement can be increased. Even some fortified foods are there with calcium which can be used. Then iron supplements. So various beans, lentils, rich in iron and other good sources of tofu, cashew nut, chia seeds, all apricots, raisins, quinoa can give you the iron from the plant-based diet. Then tea, coffee, and some other substances make it difficult for our body to absorb iron. Then omega-3, again omega-3, for getting a supplement of omega-3 for a vegetarian diet or for a plant-based diet, we require to supplement very specially like some seeds like flax seeds, chia seeds. It is recommended that we should take daily at least 2 spoons of flax seeds. For women, it can be 1 or 2 spoons, and males 2 or 3 spoons of flax seeds will increase the omega-3 supplementation for the persons on a plant-based diet. Then even iodine, we will require to take iodine supplements if we are on a plant-based diet, because iodine, actually, if we don't want to take a supplements, we can have seafoods or sea vegetables are available, which can be taken, like kelp, nori, wakame, are the seaweeds or sea vegetables which can increase the iodine level in your plant-based diet. So actually in Indian setup, there are many families which are on a plant-based diet. So they should keep in mind these are the things they should include in their diet to increase the supplements of this particular ingredients. If we again, lastly, I would like to compare with the vegetarian, vegan, and plant-based diet. So vegetarian, they don't have, as you see here, they don't have meat, poultry, and seafoods, but they can take all others. Vegan, they will strictly avoid, or strictly they will say no to the meat, poultry, seafoods, dairy, and eggs. But plant-based diet, we say to avoid it and prefer the whole plant-based, whole grain plant-based diet. So that is the difference. And again, we will say that we will use very minimally processed food. That is what is a whole plant-based diet. Thank you very much. It's a very small presentation just to give you a rough idea what is whole plant-based diet. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Although it was a small presentation, but the content was full of information and the information that really help us in managing our nutrition. So thank you very much, Dr. Rupali. Any question? Any doubt about whole plant-based diet? Thank you. So now let's welcome our next speaker, Dr. Priyender Thakur. He is Associate Professor in the Endocrinology Department. He'll update us on the intermittent fasting, how this will help in managing diabetes and obesity. So I welcome you, Dr. Priyender, and over to you.
It's a change slide from the thank you, Rupali ma'am and Punu ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to speak on this topic today. So, as I say to my patients also, that there is nothing like a diabetic diet. Diabetic diet is nothing but a healthy diet, which normally we all should take. So, I hope after this lecture, many of you may switch over to this intermittent fasting because of its benefits. It's not only for diabetes and obesity. It has got a lot of other benefits also, which I will be discussing in coming slides. So just to give you an overview, how common is diabetes, how common it has become. So all over the world, you can see that the incidence of diabetes is increasing. And in India also, this is the recently published study, in that study. It was being conducted for last, I think, 5 to 10 years. And you can see here that most of the states, the incidence of diabetes or prevalence of diabetes is more than 10%. The Uttar Pradesh, you just ignore it because there was only one center was there uh, for this study. So it doesn't represent the true pregnancy in Uttar Pradesh. In Uttar Pradesh also, it is quite different. Similarly, in diabetes, which we call in the diabetes, is just initial stage of diabetes, or when the patient has not landed upon those levels where we call it as diabetes. The incidence is so high, more than 15% in most of the states in our country. And Himachal is also, you can see here, there in Himachal also, the prevalence of pre-diabetes is more than 15%. Similarly, for hypertension, similarly for obesity, both generalized as well as visceral adiposity. And visceral adiposity, as we know, the Indians have a lot of visceral adipose tissue, which leads to, which is metabolically, I would say, metabolically not good, and leads to a lot of metabolic problems or in the form of non-communicable diseases, particularly. So, this is one of the landmark study which I have shown here. That what is the weight loss in diabetes? And this is published in 2013 in Lancet. It showed that whatever way you lose weight, whenever you lose weight, we have been reduction in your HbA1c. So that if you lose as low as 5 to 7% of your weight, you can achieve significant HbA1c reduction. Sometimes if you lose more than 10 to 15%, that if onset is less than 5 years, can land up in remission also. So how we can manage weight? So there's a number of ways. The two simple ways are you have to eat less and exercise more. There are a number of drugs also nowadays. When more of these drugs coming in pipeline, more of these are in pipeline of development. And, these three drugs are in phase 3 trials. One of the drugs is recently being approved. This is tirzepatide, that is GLP-1 analog, and a combination of GLP-1 and GIP, which is uh, being given for obesity. And other 2 or 3 drugs are in pipeline, not only for diabetes only, but for obesity also. But today, talking more of how to reduce weight with this form of chemical injection, that is intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is not a new concept to us. West Indians, most of the population is practices Hindu religion. Here you can see that every month, almost 4 or 5 days are there. If we see some 10 to 10 years back, at least people used to keep fast for 3 to 4 days, particularly on Ekadashis, which fall twice in a lunar month. And Lord Krishna also has, during Mahabharata, Yudhishthir has asked him at that time that what is the what punya he will get when one does a fast of Ekadashi. So other than spiritual benefit, but he said that to achieve a longer lifespan and to live a healthy life, especially fast is good. That, so this concept of intermittent fasting is not new to us. Similarly, other religions also. Uh, in Muslims, they do Ramadan month is there, and there are numerous studies now which have shown that after the Ramadan month, the insulin sensitivity increases, their lipid as compared to the previously. Then when I was CMC, I was not aware of this link. What was this link? When I was CMC, then I learned that Christians also used to fast, which is known as Lent, which is 40 days period before Easter. They used to take only 1 week at that time. In another religions also like Jews, Jainism, Buddhism, they advocate fasting in some or other form. What is this intermittent fasting? Just to define it, this is a dietary strategy where a period of normal eating is being interrupted with the thing. Either for 1 day or 2 days in between, or restricted eating, which I show you in coming slides. Then the fast doesn't mean that you have to fast for 24 hours. You can decrease your calorie intake to 500 to 700 calories. That also would be helpful. I'll tell you why in coming slides. So this is one of the form of another form of intermittent fasting, that is alternating fast. Where every alternate day patient either doesn't take any calorie intake or eat very few calories, like 500 to 750 calories for around 800 calories. Another form is periodic fasting, that is 5 days normal eating, 2 days fasting. Fasting means taking calories of around 500 to 750 or 800 calories. Then this is one of the newer concepts, that is a time restricted feeding. Here, what a person does is he fasts for 12 hours and do a normal eating in another 12 hours, or in a better way, 14 hours fast, 10 hours eating, 16 hours fast, 8 hours eating. So why minimally 12 hours of fasting is needed? This will become clear in coming slides. So what is the mechanism which lead to better outcomes with intermittent fasting? So we'll discuss here. So major theory which proposes these benefits is a metabolic switch. What happens is that when patient fasts, what will happen? His glycogen store of liver will go up. So what these free fatty acids will, from the fat source, will mobilize to liver with ketone bodies will be produced. These ketone bodies would be used. Uh, Lots of, if you ask grandfathers or grandmothers, what they would say that they used to take again once in the morning, once they wake up around 8 to 9 o'clock, and at 6 o'clock. After that, they would sleep. In between, they go to fields and do their routine work. Okay, but now once we have westernized, what has happened here is that we are calling now 3 meals, 3 snacks. We are taking 3 major meals, and in between we are taking snacks also. There is no time in between. To this, so that this ketone bodies are being produced. But with fasting, with 5 to 2 days, or with strict eating, you can see that the ketone bodies are being produced in between. And what are the benefits of these ketone bodies? I'll show you in coming slide. So once a patient doesn't eat for uh, 12 hours, ketone getting produced once a patient is fasting for around 8 to 10 hours. So at least 1 by 12 hours fasting is needed. So once a patient once is fasting for 12 hours, what would happen is that this ketone body would get produced, predominantly beta hydroxybutyrate. This beta hydroxybutyrate would uh, go into vasculature from there to the various organs, uh, the brain ketone bodies, the muscles would also use ketone bodies, heart also use ketone bodies. Know that in heart also there are new studies now that when heart ketone bodies, the inflammation is less. This oxidation stress is similar in muscles also. The insulin sensitivity increases, muscle storage of fat decreases. And the one of the other molecule which is produced is GF21. This is one of the newer molecule, newer hormone which has come up in the picture. What it does is it decreases the insulin sensitivity in muscles, increases the fatty acid oxidation in the liver. uh, it stimulates formation of neurotrophic factor from the brain. This brings neurotrophic factor. It helps in synaptic plasticity. It is predominantly being produced in hippocampal area, which is the area responsible for both adaptive memory as well as other higher functions. What other benefits you get is that during when ketone bodies are there, this mitochondrial biogenesis increases, autophagy increases, and the one of the common pathway for diabetes as well as mitogenic pathway, that is mTOR pathway, and various drugs are also being coming into pipeline with this pathway. It exists. So this place, the insulin sensitivity increases, and so basically, what happens during a period of fasting is that body repairs itself that time. Body repairs itself as well as it increases its antioxidant mechanism at that time. So once the patient is or the subject is fasting, the body is being repaired, his resistance is being increased to stress, his endurance increases, and once he during the period of normal eating or normal sleeping, this cell growth happens. So the remodeling process starts happening, which doesn't happen when a person is continuously eating or something like that. So the long-term adaptation which can happen with this is, as I told earlier, so the insulin sensitivity increases, heart rate variability increases, parasympathetic tone of heart increases, as well as gut microbiota becomes more favorable, and there is reduced inflammation. Blood pressure is also reduces. So, what are the clinical advantages? Coming on to the clinical advantages of intermittent fasting. So, so these are the advantages which one can get from intermittent fasting in brain. As I told you earlier, that cognition would improve, synaptic plasticity would improve, and in cardiovascular system, blood pressure would decrease, heart rate variability will decrease, parasympathetic tone will increase, inflammation will come down. So inflammation come down, atherosclerosis will come down. Similarly, in muscles, also muscles, adipose tissue, and liver, insulin sensitivity will increase. So it would be beneficial for diabetes. And this is all on top of weight loss, which we usually get uh, in which we usually see within 4 to 6 weeks of practicing intermittent fasting. one can achieve 10 to 15% of weight loss with intermittent fasting also. So, how this concept of intermittent fasting came up. So there was some observation. There is a small island in Japan, which is Okinawa, where people practice no intermittent fasting, but the nutrition requirement is okay, that is the so what people observe the metabolic disease is low in the articulation, the diabetes as well as hypertension, that was low, and they had a longer nourishment. Similarly, there is another society that is Crohn society that we follow Crohn diet. In that society also, the risk of diabetes was low, and there is more risk of inflammation. So we have numerous experimental studies also with intermittent fasting, animal studies in diabetes and obesity also, which have shown that weight loss is there, improved insulin sensitivity is there, and sometimes patient who had no, the animal subjects who had developed retinopathy also, there is amyloid retinopathy also. However, this is not being replicated in human studies. Similarly, other benefits which are talking about, which have been observed in experimental studies, are in cancer prevention as well as management, neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's, and multiple sclerosis. There is a small pilot human study also there in multiple sclerosis, where there was significant improvement in symptoms of multiple sclerosis after intermittent fasting. So this is the I'll just in coming slides I'll show you what is the evidence in human studies. This is one of the study, that is scaling study, where they have recruited around 100 patients were recruited, and here it was not for intermittent fasting, but what they have done is they have reduced the calorie intake to 25% or 75% previous to their what people were taking previous to this study. So what they observed was weight loss as such, decrease in expenditure, markers of inflammation reduced, oxidative stress, markers of oxidative stress, lipid profile become more favorable. Uh, I forgot to mention here, but there's the blood glucose, the patient who are pre-diabetic to normal range and in diabetic range, they reduction in the number of drugs being needed. So coming on to evidence for to do intermittent fasting, so this is one of the studies, the RCT, where they they have divided the patient into three groups. One group was intermittent fasting group, that is 5:2 group. Then second was group, that is 20% calorie deficit group, and third was controlled, who was at lifting diet. So what they intermittent fasting group, this ICR is the intermittent fasting group, where that group achieved significantly major weight loss as compared to the even those patients who were on controlled calorie restriction. Similarly, in 5:2 intermittent fasting group, there was greater increase in insulin sensitivity and larger increase in waist circumference, which is one of the parameters for development of metabolic diseases. What about alternative fasting? We have limited evidence of alternative fasting also. Some studies have shown that the lipid profile becomes more favorable, and the markers of inflammation reduces. Now, lastly, this gene restricted fasting, one meta-analysis is there, which showed that the overall weight loss is what we achieved was more with time restricted eating as compared to calorie reduction, and as well as fasting glucose. But the insulin sensitivity markers improved remarkably in patients who performed time restricted eating. So, what are the practical implications? What message we can take home is that, as I previously told you also, that this three snacks is so ingrained in our has so ingrained now so ingrained in our culture that it is difficult to leave that behind. So how we can overcome that. Because if you fasting, like if you start focusing 5:2 or 4:3 days fasting immediately, there could be some side effects in the form of impaired memory, decreased concentration, and irritability. So how we can stop practicing intermittent fasting? So what we can do is, if you want to do time restricted eating, or some patient want to tell him he should avoid eating initially for uh, and 12 hours he can have normal, he can eat normally for 1 to 2 weeks. Then gradually he can decrease the time period over the period of time, that like for over 1 month or 2 months, he can decrease the time period of eating from 12 hours to and try to bring it down to 8 hours. Similarly, for 5 to 2 intermittent fasting, start with 1 day fast. And just 1 day fast in a week, and in just 1 day also, or a subject can take calories up to 1,000 calories. That is initially. Then subsequently, on one day he can reduce the calorie intake to 750 calories, and subsequently, if he is able to do that, then perhaps on the second day of a week also, with a calorie intake of 1,000 calories, and subsequently reduce it to 750 to 500 kilocalories. So with this practical approach with which a person can do a intermittent fasting. So to summarize, chronic metabolic diseases or non-communicable diseases, particularly diabetes, obesity, hypertension, is on rise, and our country is in epidemic phase for these diseases. Significant calorie reduction leads to both fat as well as lean weight loss. So whenever you are asking someone to do a calorie restriction, then that the protein intake should be adequate, the other micronutrient intake should be adequate, and the other thing which you should advise is to avoid this lean weight loss is the exercise, both aerobic as well as resistance exercise. Intermittent fasting has got beneficial effects not only in diabetes and obesity, but also on cardiovascular health, lipids, cancer prevention, prevention of neurodegenerative disorders. However, the evidence is scant, but in coming years, we expect more of this evidence to come. And it is one of the cheapest treatment option which is available for management of lifestyle diseases like diabetes, because it will not cost anything to the patient. Adverse effects are minimal if done under proper guidance. So, the if role of a nutritionist would come here, deleterious effects have been in some studies have reported that severe calorie restriction can lead to lower BMD. The results are still controversial. So, half of the studies say that there is a BMD reduction, and half of the studies say that BMD stays normal. But the good thing is that the end point of that is the fracture risk of increased risk of fracture was not observed in any of these studies. So with this, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Poonam and Dr. Pali again. If any questions are there, I will be happy to answer. Yeah. So keto diet is much more similar. What would we achieve achieving with keto diet is similar that would we are trying to achieve here. But keto diet is the main problem with keto diet is it is difficult to practice, particularly in our setting, because there the carb content you have to take minimal carbs. So most of the plant-based diets would not give you not much options with plant-based diet to perform a keto diet. But the major thing that we are shifting the metabolic switch I showed you, we are shifting the focus from glucose glucose-based energy derivement to ketone body-based. So that helps in weight reduction also, as well as diabetes or obesity or blood pressure reduction. Mechanism is same, but in keto diet, the person would consume mostly fat and protein with low carbs. No, no. In ketosis, that acidosis is usually seen in patients who are deficient in completely deficient in insulin. Otherwise, if you perform ketosis or if a patient is having ketosis because of intermittent fasting, if long-term fasting is there, we are not advising long-term fasting. We are just advising intermittent fasting, like for 2 days in a week or 3 days in a week. That too also for a period of 12 hours to 14 hours. So if a patient is fasting for a longer duration, that would be harmful. Well, weeks altogether he is fasting. Otherwise, acidosis would only be seen in patient who is uh, absolutely insulin deficient.
Intermittent fasting even would prevent obesity and but suppose the patient is already diabetic.
Yeah.
Fasting, eat dinner at around and then it takes 4 hours. What's the trend of fasting be too much for in my planet?
That's why I told you that it should be under the supervision of nutritionist as well as if a patient is already diabetic, it should be under supervision of a nutritionist as well as a endocrinologist or a physician. Because if a patient is performing intermittent fast, we have to modify his medications at that time. If patient is on insulin particularly, in those cases, he can do an intermittent fasting. There's no doubt regarding the same. But if he wants to do, then it should be under supervision of a nutritionist as well as a endocrinologist or a physician. Any other?
Thank you, Dr. Prayanda, for a very informative talk and good discussion. So next we move on to the presentation by our student volunteers, MBBS student volunteers. They will present the scientific data on the evidence-based nutrition in healthcare sector. So I invite Piyush to present. Yeah.
So, good afternoon, respected dignitaries and my fellow batchmates. Myself, Piyush Bansal, first professional and leader student, and I'm here to give a presentation on the topic Mediterranean diet, traditional risk factors, and the rate of cardiovascular complications after myocardial infarction. So, first we start with the study that was given by Lion Diet Heart Study Center. So, what this study aims at, the objective of this study is to differentiate between the effect of a Mediterranean type diet and a Western type diet on the recurrence of CHD symptoms. What is CHD? It's the coronary heart disease. So after a patient has had the first myocardial infarction, what are the chances of recurrence of the symptoms of coronary heart disease? That the study focuses on with the difference on the basis of diet, that is on the Mediterranean type diet and the Western type diet. That is why the study states that they are a second. That's why they state that they are a secondary trial because they're not testing the primary effects. But after first myocardial infarction occurs, what symptoms secondarily appears to it that they are testing upon. So that is why they have mentioned themselves as single blind secondary prevention trial. So let's start with the introduction. So after the start of the study, they already started getting a very successful dietary trials. They have seen a decrease of almost from 30% to 70% decrease in the rate of recurrence. And also, what dietary pattern did they follow? We already discussed the dietary pattern they are following is the Mediterranean type diet. So any research article or any research focuses on two groups, a control group and an experimental group. So the experimental group they had, they used the Mediterranean type diet on them. So what does Mediterranean type diet includes? That was shown in this picture. It majorly includes omega-3 fatty acids. And what omega-3 fatty acids resources are, they are shown in this picture, like some specific type of fishes, salmon, walnuts, avocados, eggs, and many more. Other components of Mediterranean diet are also mentioned that they include marine components as well as legumes, vegetables, proteins, and group B vitamins. So what I will be highlighting here is the importance of these trials that have happened and the promising results in the recurrence of CHD symptoms. So what methods did they use? I already told there are two groups, a control group and an experimental group. So the experimental group had a study population who have already had this, they have survived their first myocardial infarction. And one characteristic that they had is that they chose people that are less than 70 years of age, and also that were clinically stable after their first MI. Modified Zealand design. What does this mean? This means that the control group and the experimental group, they were not informed that they were under two different groups. They gave Mediterranean type diet to the experimental group and a normal diet to a control group, but they were not informed that separate studies were being performed on them. What's intermediate analysis? So although this was happened to be done under 46 months of a study, but intermediate analysis was done in March 1993. That was approximately their 27th month. So they already got very statistically significant results in the intermediate analysis, that the follow-ups they were doing. So after the 27 months, they got positive results, so the trial was frozen. But still the final visit was done. That was done after an additional 19 months that led to the 46 months total period to assess any long-term effects. We got the positive results in the intermediate analysis, but we had to see if there were any long-term effects or not. Endpoint evaluation. This point is important considering what results we'll see. The endpoint evaluation is when the patients were required to be admitted in hospital. So when any patient was required to admit in hospital, that was considered to be an endpoint for that patient and for the study on that patient. Dietary instructions were given specifically to the patients who had to follow the Mediterranean type diet, that what the diet is and how they have to follow it, so that no mistake is done and they are compliant regarding the diet. So what results did we get? So firstly, patient participation. As we already got the results in our intermediate analysis of 27 months, there could be a chance that many patients will not come for the final follow-up. We saw that 93% of the control group and 92% of the experiment group did report for the final follow-up. What were the final results regarding the cardiovascular implications? So importance here is that there was definitely reduced mortality from the Mediterranean diet, especially considering CO1, CO2, and CO3. So what is this? So CO1 is the combination of recurrent MI and the cardiac death. So the results showed that they were markedly reduced by a probability of 0.0001. And CO2 and CO3, that was combined major primary and secondary endpoints. We already discussed what an endpoint evaluation was in the methodology when a patient was required to be admitted in a hospital. So that was also markedly reduced by a probability of 0.0002. Fatty acid concentration. We talked that omega-3 fatty acids were one of the major part of Mediterranean type diet. So what we saw that two types of omega-3 fatty acids, that is 18:3 and 22:6, which represents how we write the type of fatty acids. They were inversely associated with recurrence. That was that more the amount of them in a diet, the less were the chances of the symptoms being recurring in a patient. So what is the final discussion about the effectiveness of Mediterranean diet? So as we saw after the 27 months and 46 months, the cardiovascular morbidity was decreased. So as the Mediterranean diet remained highly effective after 46 months of the follow-up. And the rate of cardiac death was also decreased. We saw CO1 was a combination of recurrent MI and the cardiac death. So that was decreased. What is this coexistence of medication and dietary changes? Now we are focusing on a secondary trial. So that means the patient has already had their first myocardial infarction. So very probably they are on some medications. So are their medications different from what we are prescribing on a diet? So no, we have clearly mentioned that they are not mutually exclusive strategies. So what the type of dietary changes that we are inducing from a Mediterranean type diet that will give a positive combination with the medicines they are taking. All the major cardiac medications that were given did not give a pronounced effect, except only for aspirin, that always gave a protective effect. Now this is the conclusion. So although from all of what we have studied and what we have seen, we saw that Mediterranean type diet was better, and it is better. But still, the results do not show completely that. So what results show that for MI to be recurring, there are some traditional risk factors like high blood cholesterol and blood pressure. Now, Mediterranean type did lower the symptoms, and the probability was decreased by 0.0001 and 0.0002. But that was only quantitatively. If we say qualitatively, the Mediterranean dietary pattern did not alter qualitatively the relationship between the risk factors and the recurrent MI. So means what we have to do. Does only taking a Mediterranean type diet help after an MI? No, that's not the case. This means that with Mediterranean type diet, you also have to focus on a cardioprotective diet because this diet does lower the symptoms or recurrence rate, but it will not change or affect the traditional risk factor. It will not alter the high blood cholesterol, blood pressure that may be affecting your cardiovascular system. So along with taking a Mediterranean type diet, you should also focus on primarily taking a cardioprotective diet. Thank you for listening to my patiently.
Thank you, Piyush. Your presentation was really very good, even much, much better than we heard about from the PGs. So you have presented very well. So now I invite Tanisha to give you another history.
Good afternoon, everyone. Respected administrators and my fellow batchmates. This is Tanisha Goel, first professional MBBS student. And today the topic of my presentation is the effect of a ketogenic diet versus a Mediterranean diet on the glycated hemoglobin levels in individuals with prediabetes and type 2 diabetes mellitus. So first of all, what is a keto diet and what is a Mediterranean diet? So keto diet is basically a low carb, high fat diet. The low in carbohydrates, fats are used preferentially for metabolic needs. Therefore, it will put the body in a state of ketosis. Ketone bodies will be generated. So that is the keto diet. And then you have the Mediterranean diet. Mediterranean diet is based off on all the foodstuffs which are originating in the Mediterranean region. And the plus here refers to the fact that it incorporates additional restriction of avoiding added sugars and refined grains. So as you can see here, that for the keto diet, it's a big no for all the high carb options. And it is high on fats because we want them to be used for ketosis. And then the Mediterranean food pyramid, as you also explained, it's a pretty much balanced diet, still low on carbs. So this study involves a randomized crossover trial. So first, let's discuss what's a randomized crossover trial. So in a crossover trial, instead of assigning participants to different groups and each group receiving a different intervention, we assign the participants to groups. But in this case, each group will receive all the different interventions in a particular order. The order of intervention will be decided randomly. So it's a randomized crossover trial. Benefit that this trial offers is that allows the group to act as their own control. So it eliminates the need for a control group in the study. Here, the objective of the study was to compare the two diet options for pre-diabetic and type 2 diabetic patients. So these two diets, they shared three similarities and three differences. The similarities included incorporating non-starchy vegetables, avoiding refined sugars, and avoiding refined grains. So these were the similarities between the two diets. And the differences were for the keto diet, the individuals had to additionally avoid legumes, fruits, and whole intact grains. So this is the difference between the diet that the study focuses to differentiate. Then the method of the study. So the sample size was 33 participants. It's a very small sample size. It included both male and female adults, aged 18 to 65 years, and all of them were pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic patients. It was carried out for a total of 12 weeks in three stages. 12 weeks on one kind of diet, 12 weeks on the next diet, and 12 weeks of follow-up. As we'll see here, it includes dividing the participants into two groups. Group one is given the keto diet, and group two is given the Med+ diet. Then, at the end of the phase one, that is after 12 weeks, the diets are switched. That is the crossover we talked about. The diets are switched. Group one gets the Med+ diet, and group two will get the keto diet. And at the end of this 12-week period, that is the follow-up, which is also for 12 weeks, The participants could follow whatever dietary requirements that they prefer. It could be a keto diet, a meatless diet, so not both, or it could be neither as well. Then the study was formulated into three subheadings: a primary outcome, a secondary outcome, and an exploratory outcome. Outcome was to study the HbA1c levels in the individuals at the end of 12 weeks, the first 12 weeks. The secondary outcome was to study the blood insulin and the lipid values. And the exploratory outcome was to study the glucose matrices that were continuously analyzed. So the primary outcome result was that the HbA1c level decreased for both the diets, but there was no significant difference between the two diets. The secondary outcomes, which include the triglyceride, weight, insulin, HDL, and LDL, they showed some variations. Like the triglycerides, they decreased for both the diets, but they decreased more for the keto diet. Similarly for the weight and insulin, decreased for both the diets, but it decreased more for the keto diet. HDL increased for the keto diet and the meatless diet, but more for the keto diet. So keto diet, all good for the keto diet till now. But when we look at the LDL values, the LDL value, it increased for the keto diet, whereas it decreased for the meatless diet. So this is the cause of concern for the keto diet. Therefore, to conclude, we can say that the HbA1c values were improved from baseline for both the diets. This can be attributed to the fact that the diet shared more similarities than differences. Both the diets, they were low on starch vegetables, they were low on refined sugars, low on refined sugars and processed foods. So that is the reason why HbA1c was improved. Whereas to differentiate the keto and the meatless diet, although keto diet reduced the triglyceride levels, LDL was raised, which may be an indicator for cardiovascular diseases in the long run. Also, keto diet is not a very well balanced diet. There were nutrition deficiencies in the long run. The 12-week follow-up data, that is the third phase of study, it also suggested that it was difficult to follow the keto diet for the individuals. People were not very adherent to the keto diet. The meatless diet was easier to follow, it is more sustainable. So all in all, we can say that the purpose of the study, that is to see whether avoiding legumes, oil, and half grains is not very beneficial. As you can see, keto diet is not sustainable in the long run, also reaching the LDL level. So it is not advisable to avoid legumes, whole foods, and entire grains. Also, in my view, an individualized approach is required for diabetic and pre-diabetic management. The individualized approach should be tailor-made to meet the requirements of the individuals, be it their personal preferences, their metabolic profile, or any coexisting condition that they may have. Thank you, everyone. I would also like to thank HG ma'am and the resources faculty for giving us an opportunity to speak and also helping us in this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanisha, for your presentation. Again, very good. And I just want to tell you that we have kept both these presentations from the students, that we want student participation and we want to expose them in a field of research, that how the study is presented. So they have done justice with their presentation, I think. So thank you once again. So now it's time to very awaited event. So can we have lights on? All the lights on? So now it's time for the panel discussion. We hope that we will have very interactive panel discussion. We have panelists from different fields, which are linked with the, which are means associated, or you can say which are commonly involved in giving nutritional advice to their patients. So our first panelist, I'm inviting our first panelist, who is very charming, enthusiastic, intelligent, Professor and Head, Community and Family Medicine, Dr. Anupam Parashar. And please take your seat on the dais, and I request Dr. Hill to welcome ma'am. Please. Our next panelist is again very simple, very calm, and dedicated to her work. Dr. Poojan Marwa. She is a research professor in obstetrics and gynae. Now, please take your seat. I request Preeti to welcome her. Then I would like to call upon simple, sober, very social, Dr. Converge, Associate Professor from Internal Medicine. Tarun, please take the seat. Next panelist, you have heard this 2 minutes before. He is simple, sober, and sincere in her work dedicated to his faith, Jupender Thakur, Associate Professor from Endocrinology and Metabolism. Jupender, please take your seat. Jupender, from this session. Then our another panelist who is enthusiastic, dedicated, and very meticulous in her work, Dr. Nalini, Chief Assistant Professor from PGP. We have another panelist, which is joined online with us, Dr. Regina. Dr. Regina, ma'am, please go ahead. Ma'am, please unmute yourself. No audio. No audio.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, I was so actually impressed. I was telling that I was very impressed with the student presentation.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Yes, wonderful it was.
So now we are starting our panel discussion. You are also one of our panelists,
Yeah.
Dr. Regina. So let's clap for all of them.
Yeah.
So should I start?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So my first question is to Dr. Tarun. Sir, can you tell us about what is the prevalence of bad eating habits in patients you encountered in the hospital?
100%.
Does it have any direct effect on clinical outcome or disease progression?
The data which I will share is very drastic and horrifying. So, since I will deviate from the question also, we are all told to have made 3 major meals. हमारे घर में कहते हैं 3 आधे सुबह 3 दोपहर को 3 रात को फिर चावल दाल है ना ऐसे पूरा 3 मेजर मील खाते हैं
Correct.
और डॉक्टर ट्रेनर ने बताया कि we have to fast. So we can say we are all fasting for 12 hours a night. We take dinner at night 9 and then we go for class in the morning at 9 and they take a breakfast. So everybody is doing 12 hours fasting. So we can say we are having intermittent fasting. So we have it. और भी कर भी रहे हैं और काफी लोग तो 16 घंटे में कर लेते हैं लड़के होती है वो इसके व्रत जो है, इसके बरसात के व्रत, वो सारा बढ़ा के कभी लड़की हुई होती है ना. So ultimately, the eating habits are very, very bad in our society. And if you call for the numbers, they are around only 19 to 25% people stick to what we prescribe. Only 19. मतलब 1/4 जैसे 100 लोग आ रहे हैं, तो only 25 लोग इस खाने को partially accept करेंगे. Otherwise, 70 लोग जो है वो अपना ही खाएंगे. उनको पता है कि 2 खाने सुबह, 2 दोपहर, 2 रात खाने ही खाने हैं. ठीक है. तो अल्टीमेटली क्या होता है कि जो the effect of these bad habits or bad diet is that you have a poor outcome of many diseases. जैसे कि मैंने बताया कि we have a high risk of cardiovascular disease, we have a high risk of stroke. So all the comorbid diseases, the risk of their risk increases. So ultimately, we have to start out the what we call an individual plan of diet, which is very important. हर बंदे को अपना diet plan खुद ही बनाना पड़ेगा, खुद ही रखना पड़ेगा, because the availability of food and our time, because इसको स्वाद ज़्यादा लगता है, उसको कम लगता है, तो time हमारी जो time है ना, that is the problem for all.
Does it have the direct effect on clinical outcome or disease progression?
Surely the diet always play a role. If we stick to a proper diet, we can have a better outcome of disease.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, as we have seen that our nutrition matters much, and we have seen that during your previous presentations that there is scientific data that says that nutrition helps in maintaining your health. So, my next question is to Dr. Priyander. That can you tell us that how interdisciplinary collaboration between healthcare professionals improve the delivery of this evidence-based medicine? If yes, then how?
Yeah. This now everywhere it is we observe that when we do as also we previously also you have seen at my time there was some advertisement used to come in the television in Doordarshan channel. So what they try to depict was that a single stick would be broken, and if those sticks are in a bundle, it is difficult to break them. So if you're working at team, it's always good because it would not only benefit your patients also, it would benefit to you also. You will learn something from your collaborators or from your workers, colleagues from other departments. And in nutrition, I would say that if 2 or 3 departments, particularly if like for mind, it's endocrinology, internal medicine, pediatrics, and good nutritionist. That is a clinical nutritionist, not nutritionist, but a clinical nutritionist who sees patient, who give advice to the patient regarding the dietary habit. And what I am dictating here, or what I'm following here is that most of the patients come to me that they want a diet chart. And I'm totally against that approach. But our associations or various bodies are also against that approach. I also preferably don't give a patient a diet chart. I just send them to my dietitian who teaches them, who modifies their diet. Because what diet I am taking might not be appropriate, or the patient might not like that diet altogether. So, and the second thing is that I would be busy in my OPD. I would be seeing some 50, 60 patients. I don't have sufficient time to tell each and everything to that patient. So if that load is taken by someone else, like a clinical nutritionist or a dietitian educator for that matter, that would help not only the patients but to the clinician also, because the patient experience will come down, and that a nutritionist or a dietitian or a dietitian educator, because she would also learn something, or he or she would also learn something over. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Priyander. You are very well told that and you are advising other departments that don't prescribe diet for themselves. There is a nutrition illness. for this. We have clinical nutritionists. So, because what happens, the doctor or the consultant has not much time to give the appropriate diet. So, since we are having nutritionists, so we can take help of her. So, simply it means that all should refer the patient to the nutritionist for the dietary advice. So, in that way, we can practice by collaboration of other department of the nutritional advice. Thank you, Dr. Priyanka. Now, my next question is to Dr. Anupama. How can this healthcare system balance the need for evidence-based nutrition with cultural sensitivity and patient autonomy?
So that is a very interesting question, Dr. Ma'am. So actually,
That gives it my
whenever we are prescribing anything, I will talk from the perspective of a public health professional and from the perspective of the masses, not from the perspective of a clinician or because ultimately we have to give out this advice, we have to reach to the masses to give this advice. So when you're talking about culturally sensitive food or the other question,
patient autonomy.
and the patient autonomy. So it is very important because all people are different. All cultures are different, all religions are different, and we have already heard from Dr. Kendra as well that we have got different types of intermittent fasting in different religions. So obviously we need to address these things also. So if we give we have to take the patient-centered approach and culture-sensitive approach for dealing all these things. We need to ask the public, we need to ask the population what all do they need. We need to take their opinion also because whatever approach we are following, it has to be patient-centered.
So who will take this responsibility that we have to see their cultural and
Yeah, that's why we are there. So that's why we need some these focus discussions or surveys that have to be done to see what does the community require. This kind of survey has already been done in Himachal. They have come out with a booklet for that Rasoi, Venjan Rasoi cake. So
Okay.
they have for these nutritional, the food items, which are they are quite common in various districts of Himachal. So these food items, they are quite they are nutrition rich, they are healthier, and they are accepted by the community. So when you take out these options to them, you go to these options to them, they obviously they are going to accept it. Similarly, in this Poshon Abhiyan mission also, there is they are having they meet the community in person. So they ask about what are their what the food items they are preparing at home, and if they are nutrition rich, they are culturally acceptable, then we can they can be accepted by the community, and that can be advised to them also.
Is there any kind of training program for these?
Yes, yes. I would say that there is a need for inter-sectoral coordination, and earlier also pointed out by various panelists also. This is all being done by Women and Child Development Department. So Women and Child Development Department, through their Anganwadi workers have done this survey. So that is the need that we should always collaborate with other departments so that we can come out with the specific things which are beneficial to not even patients as well as in the whole of the community as well as individuals.
Thank you, ma'am. So my next question is to Dr. Regina. Ma'am,
Yes.
are you there?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
of course. Yes.
I just want to ask that if someone who has just heard the term whole food plant-based, how will you explain it to them in a very simple term? And also, if we want to recommend this diet to a very general person, then what are some easily available options considering that we have very little time and we have very little money?
Yes. Yeah, but I would like to, start with what the doctor, endocrinologist said. As he said, we are quite busy with patients and their data and, those management staff. We need a multidisciplinary team to manage this thing. First of all, that's very simple, and you should, as a doctor or an endocrinologist or a diabetologist, we should lead the team. We don't have time to prepare a meal plan and stuff. We need guidance from your nutritionist. Other lifestyle interventions, we definitely need support from a yoga therapist or a psychologist, and also the multidisciplinary team is what is going to bring in the change or the lifestyle change to bring the result. First part of it. And I also liked Dr. as the presentation about intermittent fasting. I do that 16 by 8, especially with the plant-based diet in the Indian context, since we are high on grains. Combining a plant-based diet with IF helps with the diabetic management better. Third, your question with the WFPB, WFPB, when it comes to, I don't want restrict a plant-based to just WFPB. Plant-based is an umbrella term, which we are all aware that it includes Mediterranean diet to DASH diet to the healthy vegetarian diet, which is predominantly plant-based actually. Vegetarian DASH diet, TLC, it's already we have enough and more data. Your students themselves have given data, and it's more sustainable than keto and other diet. As she mentioned, keto is definitely high in LDL and stuff, which we come across after going through. So WPP, instead of talking about WPP, what is a healthy diet? A healthy diet is actually in an individual health perspective. When you look at it, all these years of research says that anything which is low in salt, sugar, saturated fat, trans fat, maybe dietary cholesterol to a large extent for the hyper responders, and the one which is high in fiber, phytonutrient, and antioxidants, micronutrients, and a good combination of carbohydrates to proteins to fat. This is something which is supposed to be, or which is considered to be a healthy diet. So when it comes to that, any type of balanced diet which is very low in these bad things and high in phytonutrients and fiber is considered as healthy diet. So why WPB? Because over the years of research, plant-based diet, lots of studies have proven that it is actually helping with NCDs and reducing mortality. And then what happened is people started shifting to a plant-based diet, and that plant-based really was taken in. The whole part of it, the processed part of it was not taken in. So China and Africa and few other countries, I mean, America is the first one. So they started, the industry players started pushing in a lot of products, which is highly processed, which again cost the same kind of things. So hence, the scientific community like T. Colin Campbell, Esselstyn, all these guys came together and put the term whole food plant-based, a food which is predominantly whole and predominantly plant-based. Actually, that's what how the term is. So a food, ma'am, I already mentioned that, which is in an Indian context. If you're taking a North Indian context, if there is chapati, which is made of whole wheat atta, if dal or some kind of legume is there, and half of the plate is filled with vegetables in the least processed form or least cooked form, that's a whole food plant-based. You don't have to eat salads all the time to get whole food plant-based eating pattern. I think I'm clear. And is that yes?
Yeah, very clear. That means if we want to explain to a general person, then we should explain that your plate should be, half of your plate should be with the vegetables, and 1/4 of that should be with the unprocessed items, legumes, that includes legumes and grains.
Yes.
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 Yeah. So that a general person can understand this. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
So my next question is to Dr. Tarun. So, since we are talking of this whole plant-based nutrition, so does it have any kind of adverse effect on our body?
So as for in other lecture also, that the plant-based nutrition has got benefits also, but some adverse effects also. The best known adverse effect is, that the neurons in our body are covered with the lipid bilayer, and if we take a very plant-based diet, so we'll be deficient in this microelements, and secondly the lipid part. So it has been seen that many meta-analyses also, they show that if one takes a whole plant-based diet, the chance of neural degeneration is high. but still there's to prove.
Okay. No scientific evidence that
Only this is the hypothesis.
so can you summarize this? What adverse effect in a single line?
So usually you can, what we see in our OPD also, the most common deficiency is vitamin B12
Yeah.
phosphate. So vitamin B12 deficiency is commonly seen in vegetarians. And if we double that in, if you tell the patients to have a whole plant based or a very like, so then they will be more deficient with B12. And most only because we know that B12 is a part of our neurons. And the posterior column is very highly active neuron, which depends mostly on the B12. So these patients can have these. So it's just an example.
So as Dr. Tanam is saying that if the person is taking only a whole food plant-based diet, then there are chances of having vitamin B12 deficiency, which can affect their neuronal condition. So, Dr. Radina, will you speak on, will you tell us about this adverse effect? How can we minimize or it is?
Yeah, so doctor, yeah, the whole food plant-based is actually at the table itself is very clear. It is avoiding animal products. Okay, not like strict no, because she has already, Dr. Rupali's, this thing was very clear. People normally confuse a WPB with a vegan diet, which is an ideology. It not backed by science as much as WPB. Okay, that's one part. So it's not complete avoidance in most cases. And when you're going for a vegan WPB like me, I turned vegan because of ideology. I didn't want to hurt animals. But on the science part of it, I'm with WPB, of more of predominantly plant-based eating pattern. So when in the plant-based world, when you're thinking about Mediterranean, DASH and TLC, it's not going to have a lot of deficiency of vitamin B12. Some animal products are going in. But if you are like consuming predominantly, purely plant-based whole food pattern, there is deficiency of, there is already very clear that we can get into deficiency vitamin B12. Reason being, B12 we get only from animal products actually. But the recent studies also shows that animal product itself actually is coming down with the vitamin B12 level. We already know that the animals itself is grazing on the plants, which is pesticide, this thing, and it's not getting the bacteria in the rumen, which can produce B12. So that's one part of the story. But if you are planning to turn into a WFPP without any animal product, nil animal product, it's your responsibility to take B12 supplementation. That's very simple. Unlike calcium, iodine, zinc and stuff, B12 we cannot get it. Calcium, iron and stuff, we still can manage with properly balanced WPP diet. We can manage to get our RDA. But B12, no, we need to take supplementation or fortified food.
Yes, thank you. So those who are planning to be on switching over to WFPB diet, so please take vitamin B12 as a supplement. That is very, very essential.
Exactly.
So, Dr. Poojan, she's from Obscene Gynae. So, ma'am, you also give the dietary advice to your patients. So, what are the things that you keep in your mind and which type of diet you prefer to advise the pregnant woman or high-risk pregnancy patients?
So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Kalia and Dr. Actually, pregnancy is one of the states where dietary advice is important, both from point of view of prevention as well as from treatment point of view. The high-risk pregnancies, that I think most of it is covered, that you require a balanced diet. Balanced diet means that you have to have a balance of carbohydrates, fats, proteins, and micronutrients and macronutrients, both for pregnancy and for the baby. Pregnancy is a unique condition because even if you are taking a balanced diet, you do require supplementation in the form of macro and micronutrients due to a basic thing called hemodilutional effect, where your blood pressure, your RBCs are developing at a lower rate as compared to the plasma volume. So I would say that a high risk pregnancy in that condition,
Plant-based diet, even though it does have benefits of a reduced amount of that is what the literature says, that preeclampsia and diabetes and hypertension, etc. But in pregnancy, purely a plant-based diet would not suffice as far as micronutrients are concerned, be it iron, B12, folic acid, B12, and calcium. So these supplements need to be done for pregnant women. Also, you require additional amount of proteins in the form of, well-balanced proteins, because as far as non-pregnant patients are concerned, it's only 42 milligrams, 42 grams or so. Whereas in pregnancy, it's raised up to 71 grams. So in that case, you require high quality proteins in order to maintain the pregnancy. So that is what my this thing is, that purely plant-based diet also one has to be weighing against the supplementation.
Right. Means if the pregnant lady comes, then you will not advise WFPD. I mean, if you are you can advise, but it is not your preference. Means
I would say that it should be balanced against the requirement of pregnancy per se.
yeah. So as you talked about the macro and micronutrients, so my next question is to Dr. Priyander. What are the macro and micronutrient deficiencies that are possible while consuming? Although we have discussed, but again, just to reinforce.
Macronutrient wise, essential fatty acids like omega-3, DHA, PLA, linoleic acid. So these are deficient. The plant-based foods are deficient in these. And proteins. So it is difficult to get that.
We can get that
Yeah,
from the
difficult to get required amount of protein. If
or the class of protein.
yeah, class of protein.
Yeah.
It's difficult because one or two only plant-based foods are there which are rich in high quality. Soya protein is one of that protein that is rich in high quality protein. But we can overcome that with mixing the various plant-based foods like rice with dal or roti with dal. When we mix these, then we can get high quality proteins. But if someone is in need of a high like high quality as well as high amount of protein intake is needed for any reason, like ma'am told pregnancy or any other reason, someone is exercising, is doing resistance exercises, we want to build his muscles. In those cases, you need a high amount of protein. So that is difficult to achieve. But I am achieving. I am not a strict vegan, but I don't take meat or egg. But I am able to do that. But it is difficult to do for a common man. That's what my point is. Micronutrient wise is calcium. Because calcium is there in plant-based food, but you have to be the food has to be diverse. What I want to add in the previously being told is that ragi is quite rich in calcium. So you can supplement that also in your whole grains. So your calcium requirement will definitely from other foods come down. Soya products, as told, already rich in calcium. Another micronutrient is B12. We have already talked about. I will not talk about that. Then iron and iodine. Iodine in India, I think it's not a problem now because salt is iodized now. And so these are the micronutrients which are coming to my mind right now, which are which can be which should be taken care of while you shift to whole food plant-based.
Okay. So, since you are talking about the protein, that means class of protein and amount of protein, so I just want to ask Dr. Regina that please tell us about the substitute of animal-based food like egg, milk that we consume, most of the people consume every day and consider essentially keeping their children in their mind and everything, mean other things. So, what are the things that we can replace as milk, etc.?
Yes, Doc, actually, first and foremost, I want to again start the conversation with having a mindset to learn about nutrition. That's the most important thing than just jumping into whole food plant-based nutrition in the first place. As Dr. Endocrine Pratesh doctor said, like a common man, it's very difficult to shift to a whole food plant-based pattern without changing the food systems currently. So I'll give you an example. The way we eat, as I mentioned in the presentation, 80% of our plate is grains, that too refined grains, which is giving us only carbohydrate, leaving us only with 6 to 8% of the proteins, that also predominantly coming from the grains actually. So we are not capitalizing on our legumes, which is high in proteins. And so look at the sources of proteins. Plant-based sources of proteins are majorly legumes, which is lentil, dal types, different type of dals, beans and peas, and also like some soy products like tofu, timpu, soy chunk, soya bean. All these are high in proteins. Nuts, seeds, all these are high, good sources of protein. But the problem is actually we are eating 80% grains. Every culture you take, North India, it will be like 5, 6 chapati and one side dish which is made up of some sabji. That's how we eat. What we need to educate is right now, do not focus on WPD, focus on what we need to ask people to change the way we eat. Have start following a plate pattern where you keep half of the plate with vegetables and fruits, which is predominantly plant based, and a lower portion, reduce the grain portion to 1/4 of the plate, rice or roti, and have a protein portion at every meal. One katori of dal at every meal can provide 1 cup of cooked dal gives around, then regular dal gives around 16 to 18 grams of protein. Whereas 100 grams of chicken also provides 22 to 25 grams only. So actually what we need is, it's not just about, suddenly shifting to that is like a fad actually. What we need is, as clinicians, we need to understand that there is a need to advise our people to change the way we eat. So plant-based proteins can be included at every meal so that you start getting some protein at every meal. We are still at 6 to 8% of our calories from proteins. We need to work on that. That's what we need to work on. I'll ask them to reduce the grain portion, increase legume portion, include a bean or dal or rajma. Have peanuts for snacking instead of having the processed snack which you're getting from your grocery shelf. These are the changes we need. Slowly we will get into WPB and stuff if somebody feels that, okay, over the course of time, what I've noticed with most of the doctors is once they start learning about whole food, the whole nutrition, evidence-based nutrition, first thing is they start changing for their individual health. Okay, let me reduce my saturated fat intake, trans fat intake, sugar intake, salt intake. Finally, they will be more of whole food and predominantly plant-based. One moment in time, they feel like, oh, planet is heating up because of my eating pattern. Let me reduce the animal protein. That's how the process goes. We don't have to completely shift into a thing right now. Start thinking. That's all we need actually.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought I went a little overboard. Anyway, I've already mentioned the items which is there. Yeah.
So my next question is to Dr. Nalini. So we have seen that what are the pros and cons of using a whole plant-based diet. So I just want to know, are there any challenges? Although we have talked about, can you summarize the challenges do you think for the plant-based diet that will pose to the patient?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Actually, though pros and cons are already explained previously, for children, the evidence is still limited. I personally thought whole food plant-based diet, fully speaking, and for children, we don't practice it. And the evidence from even developed nations are also very meager only. So to apply to the children itself is very difficult topic. On top of that, parents will come and say, my child is not drinking milk, my child is not eating this food, my child is not taking curd or cheese. So how can you? Even the normal is very difficult to implement in the children. And to think of whole plant-based diet is very, very difficult. But the advantage is all this whole food plant-based diet is coming from nature. Green, yellow, orange, fruits and vegetables. So this colorful pattern we can babies and then we can utilize for them to feed. And most of the Indian culture is like we are using within 1 year all plant-based foods only, all cereals. We introduce 1 year only most of the time. So already children are in plant-based diet only. But only thing is, there's
Quality.
not plant-based.
Yeah, that's why I want to just know, can we apply this plant-based diet in NRC? Treating malnutrition.
Industry application centers. In industry application centers, the management can in the community itself. And for in the community to use, we use ready to use therapeutic foods because it's all ready-made foods are available there. For carbohydrate, they use cereal base. Then for protein, they use peanut powder, like any nuts powder is there. And for fat, they use oil, groundnut oil or ginger oil, depending upon the local availability. And on top of that, nutrients and various nuts. So this is under the community. And in Himachal, as ma'am said, it is each district according to the local activity is RBPM. Ready to use food is been custom made and given to the unless you give local acceptable food, nobody will follow it. So this is already happening there. But one thing is continuous supervision and strengthening the existing supply of this RBPM and people to whether they're taking on what surveillance and follow this areas.
Thank you, ma'am. My next question is to Dr. Anupam. Are there any socio-economic factors that influence the accessibility and adoption of this EBM recommendation?
Yes, you're right. Socioeconomic factors, they obviously are the will influence the choice of foods for everyone. Whether you say, and this is impacting our country a lot, country as well as the globe a lot, because of this epidemic of this food-based, chronic diseases. We are saying highly food-influenced chronic diseases. So everybody is not talking about this, and obviously those who are having higher socioeconomic status, they are more exposed to the supermarkets, and they can afford to get the things done. And obviously, when you're talking about accessibility, both affordability as well as availability of the food item. So affordability for those socioeconomic status people will is going to be definitely lower.
As Dr. Pali was saying that we should consume unprocessed food. In shops, we'll get the processed food, and in WPFTD, it's advised to have the unprocessed food. So that is available to the low socioeconomic.
That is what I'm saying, that if the person is having low socioeconomic status, he or she should will be concentrating more on the community-based available food items. They will be going, and that is good. They will be going for community kitchen. They will be going for the community grown farms. I mean, there are examples in Odisha where tribal population has been given these food grains. Their food seeds have been given, vegetable seeds have been given, 15 to 18 varieties of vegetable seeds have been provided. And they are now having their own kitchen gardens, and they are obviously they are helping their own families with this. So socioeconomic status, but if the patient's socioeconomic status or the individuals or the family socioeconomic status is not up to that mark, then obviously only community activities can help. They will not be able to buy things and other things. And one thing more I want to point out is that Dr. Shanina was also Regina was also pointing out that other scientists have also pointed out that we need to change the patterns. But who will change the pattern? For that, we will change communication. Otherwise, if even unless you change the behavior of the society, nobody is going to affect. Nobody is going to accept our whatever we are telling. Dr. Datu also pointed out in the beginning that only less than 20% the patient they are following the advice. So
here comes the role of collaborative effort.
Exactly.
The physician will have time to tell everything. So there is a need to have a counselor one needs to have then not only telling about the dietary patterns, they need to also tell about other insidious factors like physical activity and other things also. Four major risk factors, tobacco and alcohol, that's also the environment talked about. And we have already worked in Himachal regarding this in tribal and rural area, and with the help of the counselor, on the health worker, we were able to counsel the people to adopt, I mean, to lower these so-called NCD risk factors. So that is, I mean, we advise this to have counseling also. That will be able to, I think we can help in changing the pattern of eating of the population and patient.
So we should have interdisciplinary collaborative efforts to implement this WFPB. So my another question, second last question to Dr. Pooja ma'am. So what gynecological problem that could be benefited from this diet?
There are certain diseases which have been specific to nutrition. One of them is the PCOS. PCOS is basically a spectrum of endocrine disorders. It's actually a whole spectrum of diseases from adolescent to maybe late reproductive and then followed by the perimenopausal age. It just goes on like a diabetic and an endocrinologist. So one of them, the PCOS is basically a disease which is supposed to benefit from the loss of weight, and if we concentrate on other diseases, the spectrum of diseases are related to this food, and malignancies, particularly the ovarian malignancy, is one of them, where a high fat diet and a saturated fat diet is supposed to be, one of the key factors for these ovarian cancers. And other factors also, other cancers like endometrial cancer as well, is also, linked to high fat, high saturated fatty diet, and these may benefit from, plant-based diets because of high estrogenic content in these plant-based diet and the animal-based diets. Also, endometriosis also has been linked to a high fatty acid, saturated fatty acid diet, and also there is a spectrum of diseases which are linked to the high saturated fatty acid diets and which are low in multivitamins, which are low in various micronutrients. So these all the diets and loss of weight and intermittent fasting, what they're saying is beneficial for these kind of lifestyle modifications are beneficial for a spectrum of these patients.
So you mean in gynae, the PCOS patients and the patients who are having high estrogenic disorders like endometrial carcinoma, endometriosis,
Yes.
ovarian carcinoma. So they are benefited if they are advised to
Yes.
for this diet. Thank you. My last question is to Dr. Anupam ma'am, but other panelists can also reply. What future trends do you see, do you foresee in evidence-based nutrition research and its application in healthcare? What future do you see?
So actually, as Andrea, you also mentioning that everybody is now this food is being taken as a medicine. So many and studies and experimentations are coming in you can see they are there in the on Google or otherwise also are in news and in media also. Everybody is talking about this. But we need to have some mechanism to see whether these are really beneficial or not. Because some of the studies which are mentioned by the panelists in their presentations, they were useful about them. But other people are also just like other people also coming in with the various experiments and all. So we need to have at least some control over that. That whatever things are coming in the media or in all the searches, at least they are documented somewhere. So that is we need to see and especially what I think that research which is coming in nutrition on the personalized nutrition that the research will now come. That the precision nutrition we will be talking about, that one-to-one nutrition, catering to only a particular person, individual
person and that one-to-one.
Yes, one-to-one, that kind of research is going to come. And we have seen that we are also having various apps are also there. And obviously, when we will integrate with big data analytics, so probably we will be having more into this. And
Yeah, I think we have sufficient data that this diet has.
When new things are coming,
Yeah.
evidence to bring it to
More research to prove this, that this is validation. Already, there are studies which proves that we can do some research targeted to one-to-one interaction. It's a validation.
That has to be customized because everything cannot fit into everyone. That has to be individualized.
Right. Thank you. Any other panelists want to say on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Though it is evidence-based nutrition we are looking for, to challenge the traditional practices of whatever we are eating, that not all can be evidence-based because something we cannot do, it may not be sound to do the research or evidence to produce evidence on that. But that is already there. That is a descriptive epidemiology. That evidence is already there.
So there are evidences on all types of diet.
Yes.
Every diet has some benefits and stuff. But since this is a thing that is clearly giving you the concept that these are the benefits that you'll get, so you can choose for this diet also. Dr. Regina?
Yes, yes, I do have something to say. What I'm saying is evidence-based nutrition is not just about a whole food plant-based diet, okay? It's just about knowing these nutrition studies, able to analyze this, as ma'am said, big data analytics and real-time data and real-time analysis is available to us. Why don't we take it up? As medical professionals, why don't we start having discussions around it, having more and more seminar around it so that we learn these things. Once we learn, we know what is right and we are able to individualize it. And there will be, like, when there is a demand, there will be resources and tools created to facilitate our practice. Why don't we do that? That's what the major focus of this discussion, not just promoting any kind of dietary practices. I just put WPB because something people will understand to include more fruits and vegetables and include some proteins at every meal. That's the thing. But what we need here is to have an understanding that there is a huge data of research and stuff going on in evidence-based nutrition, not just for prevention of disease, but also for the management of diseases and in certain cases remission, long-term remission. Why don't we embrace it? We are actually the top apex of the healthcare. We should embrace it, not giving to these influencers and media people and looking at what they are saying. We should read it, analyze it, and come up with our own conclusions and maybe create an advisory panel, create guidelines around it. We lead it. That's what I said. We don't want anything else actually. So we need evidence. We are evidence-based practitioners. We are science-based practitioners. Since there is some data and stuff there, that doesn't mean that we can practice that. We are being trained and we are being, studied. We are being educated to follow evidence. But let's learn evidence. Let's learn what's going on. That's what I have to say.
Let's
And
learn the evidence and propagate it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever we learn, that we should propagate it, that
Exactly.
so that everyone should know it.
Exactly. That's all. That's all I want to say. Let's have these ongoing discussions so that we kind of start learning about it. We never had nutrition as a topic in our curriculum. Our CMEs doesn't include nutrition related stuff. It is just some IF or some basic stuff. We don't get into the details of it. So we need to have this ongoing dialogues for us to equip or educate ourselves so that we lead it actually. There is huge research going on in the field which I'm aware, and when I look at it, none of the doctors from India are not involved in the research, but at least in US, because of the lifestyle medicine and related stuff, there are a lot of doctors leading those research and stuff. You already know that America's New York mayor has already implemented plant-based food in all the hospitals across this thing. Now 14 other senators came forward to do that actually. But in our, and that 4 billion which is gone is for training the medical doctors on evidence-based nutrition. Why we are not embracing it? That's the thing. We need to start this dialogue. That's all we need. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Regina. We have lots of questions to ask, but we have to see the time also. We are lagging behind the time. So I just want to wrap up this panel discussion.
Thank you so
So
much for
I
all the panelists also. It was wonderful. Actually, we're all like experts in your field and knowing a lot about it. Really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I once again I thank to all my panelists for being there and having very good discussion.
Thank you for inviting us.
So
And to Pali and
thank you. So now it's time to honor our panelists. So I invite Dr. Rupali to honor our first panelist, Dr. Anupam Parashar. Now I invite Dr. Poojan for this. I will actually, now I invite Dr. Hitesh to honor our next panelist, Dr. Darul Sharma, and Dr. Preeti to honor Dr. Priyanka Thakur, Dr. Minka to honor Dr. Nalini. Once again, I thank all the panelists to be here. Now, a success of each event goes to the team effort. So, our program cannot be completed if we do not appreciate our team. I request Dr. Anupam Parachar to honor our organizing committee. First of all, Dr. Hitesh, who is organizing member. Praise Dr. Poojan to honor Dr. Preeti. I request Dr. Tarun and Dr. Priyanka Thakur to honor our last practicing office, Dr. Rekha. The myself. I Now, organizing team is just not the faculty member. We have the staff of our department also who also did all their effort. So we have token of appreciation with that, but because of the time paucity, will distribute in the department. Now, I would like once again Dr. Anupam ma'am to felicitate our to give the token of appreciation to our students, Tanisha and Piyush, for giving their presentation. Thank you. Now I will invite Dr. Hitesh Jani for a vote of thanks.
Very good afternoon to you all. Today marks a significant and memorable moment as we gather here to express our heartfelt gratitude on occasion of continuing medical education session on evidence-based nutrition in healthcare. It's been an enlightening and enriching experience for all of us, and we are immensely thankful to all those who have contributed to the success of this event. First and foremost, I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to our esteemed executive director for his visionary leadership and unwavering support in making this CNE a reality. A special thanks to the Dean Academics for his constant guidance and encouragement throughout this journey. Your commitment to academic excellence has been instrumental in shaping this event into a valuable learning experience. We are honored to have with us the medical superintendent, whose presence and encouragement have been a source of motivation for all of us. A warm thank you to Dr. Radina Sahi, the distinguished medical director of the Pan India Association, for gracing us with your talk and sharing your expertise. Your insight have added immense value to this CME, and we are grateful for your valuable contribution. Our heartfelt appreciation goes out to all the esteemed panelists who participated in insightful discussion, sharing their knowledge and expertise in field of evidence-based nutrition. Your contribution have greatly enriched our understanding and will undoubtedly have a positive impact on patient care. Heartfelt gratitude goes to our dedicated head of department, Dr. Rupali Parlevar, whose commitment to excellence has been a driving force behind this event's success. Your leadership has set a remarkable example for all of us. A big round of applause for the organizing team members who worked tirelessly to ensure the seamless execution of this event. Your dedication and attention to detail have been evident in every aspect of the CNE. We cannot forget to extend our gratitude to the student volunteers who lent their time and energy to make this event a success. Your enthusiasm and commitment have not gone unnoticed. Last but not the least, we express our heartfelt thanks to the participants of this CNE. Your active engagement and participation have made this event a dynamic and engaging experience for everyone involved. In conclusion, I would like to emphasize that this CNE on evidence-based nutrition in healthcare has been a collaborative effort, a testament to the power of knowledge sharing and the spirit of learning. As we depart, let us carry forward this insight gained here to contribute positively to the field of healthcare. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I can leave, right?
So as you return to your respective roles and responsibilities, may you carry forward the knowledge gained here as a beacon of light guiding your medical decisions and patient care. Our journey together has been one of exploration, learning, and collaboration, and I believe we have achieved our goal of deepening our understanding on evidence-based nutrition.
Thank you.
So, thank you all. Now I invite all of you for the lunch. And in the lunch, I just want to highlight that the food plate that you have seen in the presentation of Dr. Rupali, that is today's menu. So I'll repeat, that is based on the whole plant-based diet. So that plate carries vegetables in the form of vegetable and fruits in the form of salads, dishes like soya chap, palak settu vadi, legumes, chola, vegetable, plenty. I am just closing the menu so that you should know what we are going to eat. We are just having the whole plant-based diet. And the grains, millets, and wheat. So please join for the lunch. Thank you. I request all the faculty members and volunteers, student volunteers, to be here for the group photograph. And